So, today we're here to talk about a very special Bloodborne character.
Yeah.
But Sin, they're all special.
But this one is beloved by a very special Bloodborne gamer.
Oh, yes. Definitely, yes. Very special indeed.
I feel like people who know you, I don't even need to write like a title in the title. I just need to write like teeny tiny coffee bean on podcast, and everybody will like instinctively know what the podcast is about.
They're just gonna be like, she's gonna talk about Micolash for longer than whoever in like her range of like physical vicinity is allowing her to talk about Micolash.
There we go.
just all the time.
I was about to say, Richard, do the intro, but then I'm scared you're gonna ask me what episode this is, and I honestly have no idea.
We'll do... Okay. Welcome to episode 17, 18, 19, 20. So insert whichever one of those is accurate. Of the Snack Covenant podcast about... supposedly about anything, but is mostly just about Dark Souls at this point.
Well, this is a Bloodborne episode.
Yeah, it's a Bloodborne episode.
You're confusing people, Richie.
Well, I'm confused.
You just had the Sumerian one out. Didn't that just happen?
Yeah, but that was like 2 weeks ago from my point of view.
Oh, of course.
And like from my point of view, the last thing we did was talk about Final Fantasy X with Xanadia's K.
Oh.
And Sinclair talked about her experiences with it. Which is that she did one dungeon in Final Fantasy 15.
I did it very brilliantly, though, so that counts for like 20 Final Fantasy games.
Yeah, and Final Fantasy 15, like, if you rounded down, could be Final Fantasy 10.
Yes, if you subtracted 5.
Yeah.
You would get Final Fantasy X.
Perfect. It was a perfect podcast. Oh, Bean, yeah, I wanted to tell you about what Richard did. Yesterday, we recorded the most beautiful podcast that has ever been recorded in the history.
I want her to release her side of the audio now to prove that's not true.
It's gonna prove that it is true. But basically, we recorded a marvelous podcast. And then, Richie, what did you do?
I saved the file, and then when I opened it again, the file was empty. And there was no data in it, and I don't know what happened. And I think something went wrong when I was saving it.
So now I have like 3 hours of podcast, but my side only, and we're missing Rich's side, so we can't release it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
No, well, I think to be fair, a lot of your side is just you talking, because I had no idea what you were talking about, and I just said what.
So you just have to get an audio recording of Richard saying what and just put it in different places in the breaks.
I think she could pretty much just release her side of it and it wouldn't make any difference, because I have no idea what she's talking about at all. Sin, do you want to explain how you were talking at that? You're trying to explain an anime to me that was, in your words, like, you know, the anime, there's a box in it.
No, there's not a box.
And
okay, Bean.
There's
There's 5 or... How many colors are in a rainbow again?
7.
7, okay.
Yeah.
There's 7 little boxes that are this big. And...
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed, that big.
Yeah. And they're all different colors, which I'm 99% sure are the colors of the rainbow. And... okay, I mistakenly told Richie that you need to get the boxes or something for the policy, but that's not it. You need to get 2 sets of rings and pacifiers, and then you get a policy, and that's how you save the world or something. And
yeah, and I want to point out that, like, she tried explaining it for about half an hour, and it never it never became more coherent than there's 7 boxes. I think 7. I think they're the colors of the rainbow. You also need rings and pacifiers, and there's a policy. Just like over and over and over again while I'm just sitting there saying, what?
Okay, no, but
And then something about a mafia baby.
no, eventually, yeah, but then I also told you that things live in boxes. But that's later down the line, because at first the rings are in the box.
I still don't know what you
An
mean.
anime!
Yeah, because there are things in the boxes, and one of the boxes was like, because, oh my god, I don't even know, because in one of the boxes, one of the I guess, spirit animals, it wasn't very nice, or maybe it was a robot animal, I don't know. But like, so the guy who had the box couldn't really control it, but then they became best friends. And then, where
does the policy fit into this? Because I remember you repeatedly talking about the policy.
The
And then I
policy.
couldn't find it, and then you said, well, maybe it wasn't called the policy, but I remember that's what it's called.
in my head, it's called the policy, and what happens
Yeah,
is
but-
you need the sets of 7 rings, the sets of 7 other rings, and the 7 pacifiers, and together it's like a trinity, and it creates a policy. And with that, you can do things, and that's how you save or destroy the world.
And this involved a mafia baby.
Yeah, and there's
Oh my god, it's Boss Baby.
That's what I think we'll end up doing, because we are going to do an anime podcast. And I think in order to salvage this attempt to explain the policy to me, we're going to have to do an episode that's comparing whatever the fuck this series is actually about, because I know less about it the more I hear, with the boss baby.
Yes.
And see which is the superior baby.
Yeah, you need to rewrite both of the scripts and then like combine them into one ultimate mafia boss baby anime.
Yeah, but like, okay, Bean, I'm sure you know this, because then I remembered that it was about the mafia, and there were babies, but then one of the babies is a cow baby, one of the babies is like a G.I. Joe, one is a scientist. And then, but they weren't always babies, they were adults, and then they became babies when they found the pacifiers in a cave.
What?
No, it's very simple, and that's the policy.
This is very normal. This is all very simple.
But the policy comes later when they go into the future using the cow baby's bazooka. That's when they discover that there's a policy that combines the rings and the pacifiers.
Are you sure you didn't fall asleep watching this and dream parts of it?
This sounds like Space Dandy, but more ridiculous.
Oh, there's also moscas. There are like big moscas and little moscas.
What?
The
Mosca.
moscas. Yeah, I just remembered a word from the anime, and I think it's a robot. Babe, what's a mosca? Oh, my boyfriend's just ignoring me at this point, but we watched it together.
That's what my boyfriend does.
That's what Micolash does.
Yes, that one. That boyfriend, yes.
Oh, and I think the main character, his fists are on fire.
I think we can salvage this by saying that Micolash also stole a baby.
Yes.
And this is now a lead-in.
This was my plan all along.
Okay.
Yes, Micolash stole a baby, yes.
It wasn't a mafia baby, but it was a baby.
Well, you don't know that. What if it was the baby from the series?
That's true.
I mean, the cow baby is my favorite, and it's the cutest.
I feel like I'm the captain of a large ship that I'm trying to steer in one direction. And you are the force of the ocean pushing me away. I'm grabbing onto the steering wheel and I am like straining.
Yeah. Tag yourself, I'm the boat.
There's an island with like the point on it that I'm furiously trying to get, and the sea is pushing me backwards.
God, this is a visual.
Sin is like a weather god who's like blowing air, like blowing wind onto the sail, pushing me back, and I'm like,
It's the bag of air from the Odyssey.
yes, yeah, and I'm like gritting my teeth, and the salt water is flying on top of me, and I'm like, I have to get to the point somehow. And she's like, yes, but the policy.
It's just the bag of air, but it's just Sinclair talking about this anime.
But what you gotta
Oh my
remember is that not every baby had a pacifier. There was also an adult with a pacifier that passed on the pacifier to the child.
Oh my god.
Okay, the thing is that, like, the one we just recorded with Senadius K, that was, like, really on point. It went really smoothly, and, like, there were digressions, but the digressions were things that were relevant to the story. And, like, relevant to the history of video games at that time. And we're now 12 minutes into this, and it's just you recapping an anime you don't remember.
We're in a talking mood now, so this is it. Bean, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's completely fine.
This is your life now.
I don't know how fine it is for Richard, but I'm okay. He's the one that's just like, I'm trying to steer this ship. It ain't happening.
This is the third time I've been involved in this discussion with her, because the thing is, like, early on, she lost an episode's worth of audio. And this is her, like, proving that it's now all my fault.
Yes.
She's going to bring this up every opportunity she can to make it look like we both lose audio, so it's okay when she does it.
This is fine.
Yeah, but Bean, I showed Richie like a little snippet from the anime, and he really liked it. Richie, do you remember?
It was a baby that was dressed as a cow, and it ate, like, something that had a bomb in it.
Is this like an old school cartoon?
No, but
No, it's new. I'd never heard of it.
You're describing
she saw
it
it on
wrong.
Crunchyroll.
It's basically, okay, Reborn, the mafia baby, he threw a cake at the cow baby, who's Lambo, and then Lambo ate it because he loves food. But then turns out there was a grenade in the cake, and so Lambo went flying. It was very cute and humorous.
This sounds like... It sounds like, sorry, anytime I think of somebody eating a bomb, I just think of that episode of SpongeBob where Squidward thinks SpongeBob ate a bomb. That's what I'm thinking. I'm picturing this in, like, SpongeBob. This is what happens.
SpongeBob, Boss Baby, and Reborn crossover.
Yes.
That's what the world needs.
Okay.
All right, so
Okay.
now that I proved my point, and Bean knows exactly what anime I'm talking about, so it wasn't that hard to guess, Richie,
It's
as you
SpongeBob.
made it seem.
It's definitely just
There we
SpongeBob.
go. It's just SpongeBob.
That's all it is.
Now we can move on to the podcast.
Oh, thank you, glorious leader.
You're welcome. Go on, Richie.
Now it's my responsibility.
Carry this podcast to the coast.
So
Bring it
this
on home.
podcast is now about Bloodborne again, and we're talking about the character of Micolash, host of the Nightmare, with Bean, who is a big fan of Micolash.
Yeah.
So, I guess Richie, because he's good at summing up things.
Whenever
I
it's your job to
guess.
say something, you just say, Richard, what would you say?
Richard, what's happening?
Yeah. Richard, can you just briefly sum up the whole Micolash thing?
Won't that be the entire podcast then if we, like, briefly sum it up?
No, just remind people of
Okay,
who
Micolash
Micolash
is- Micolash is a character
Did you
in
just sigh at
Bloodborne
me?
who...
Did you just go,
Yeah.
Oh, Bean, this is what I have to work with.
I see. It's okay. It's okay. I too have to deal with someone who does a disgusted sigh noise at me on a regular.
I know.
You have to keep in mind we've been recording for 2 hours already at this point.
I know. And I'm sure you're just like, yep, this is happening.
Thank God
As
Bean
usual.
is here for the podcast morale, Richie.
This will be great. Did you see, like, we're going to have Princess Axolotl on at some point, and it was like, yeah, to make you feel at ease, Sinclair will just bully me throughout. So it creates a sense of, like, it's the guest and Sinclair against me.
Yes, that's exactly. Oh my God, you know, Bean, at some point we had Jeremy on, and then at another point we had Aegon on, and they all kind of, toward the end, joined in on the bullying. They were like, no, but then everybody joins in the end. So this is a good strategy. It makes the guests feel at ease.
It just makes the guest feel at ease to bully Richard. Just
Yeah.
that's aw.
I love it. That's just all.
Aw.
Okay, Richie, so briefly remind us about who Micolash is.
Okay. So Micolash is a character in Bloodborne who is the head of a faction of the Healing Church who were referred to as the School of Mensis. Technically, the first time you encounter Micolash, he is already dead. You find his corpse in a chapel in the... It's a walled-off area of Yharnam called Yahar'gul, the Hidden City. And Yahar'gul, the Unseen Village. You find his corpse in an area called Yahar'gul, the Unseen Village. You don't quite understand what's going on. You just see this corpse wearing what appear to be academic robes and a large cage on his head. And when you touch this corpse, you end up in a strange sort of nightmare version of Byrgenwerth briefly, which you stumble through. As you escape the nightmare version of Byrgenwerth, you end up in an area called Nightmare of Menses, which is a sort of like nightmare realm with a huge castle and sort of strange monsters you've never seen before around it. As you progress through the Nightmare of Menses, Micolash is encountered about halfway through. You realize that the corpse of the person you touched there, even though their physical body has died, their soul/consciousness, whatever you want to call it, persists in this nightmare world as basically a living version of the person you saw, wearing the same gear, and he is sort of stumbling around a large library area, muttering to himself, praying to something called Cos. Then when you encounter him, he notices you and he begins running away, and you attempt to chase him, and the boss fight will commence. Then the boss fight is very strange for the Souls games. It takes place over an extremely large area, and you basically just have to chase this guy through a huge library. And eventually you will corner him in a room where you have to fight him, and upon dying, he screams, "Now I'm waking up, I'll forget everything," which implies like he knows he is dreaming, but he doesn't realize his physical body is dead. And that is the end of Micolash, and he, presumably when he's defeated in the Dreamlands, his consciousness is just sort of snuffed out, and he's gone forever.
Aww.
And yeah, you find out a little bit more about what Micolash was doing as you progress through the area.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So, Bean, tell me, what was your first impression when you saw Micolash?
I used to watch a lot of speedruns. Specifically, we would watch Zeus and Distortion. And I didn't play the game for years after it came out. So I'd watched speedruns since the game was released, but I didn't play the game until just the beginning of this year. So my first impression was like, wow, there's this I don't understand because I've never played a Souls game before. And I was like, that's weird. That boss runs away from you. That doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right. And then one day I was just like, I actually like genuinely sat down and like paid attention to the speedruns because my boyfriend was into watching them, and I wouldn't pay attention as much. But I was like, oh man, I love that guy. That's me. If I was a Souls boss, I would try my hardest to run away from things. I have very short legs. It wouldn't work very well. But I love him. He looks like a ridiculous idiot, and I want to know more about him. And this is how it all started. I was like, wow, that's my favorite boss. Who is he? And that's how the fascination started.
And you cosplay and you're an artist.
Yes, I do. I've put together a very, very fast Micolash cosplay. I put it together in 3 weeks, which is a little ridiculous because I don't have a sewing machine.
Oh my god.
So I hand sewed my robes that I have. And when I made the Menses cage, the one that you see in the photos is actually the second one I made. Because the first one I made was trashed. Like, I literally made it, and then I was like, I'm just gonna throw this away. And I had never made anything of this size before, or handmade any, like, of my actual, like, costuming pieces, because I don't know how to sew. So, that's an ordeal to put together, but I did debut it at a convention just this year, and I have to remake the Menses cage again before I can do it again. But I'm actually putting together Edgar. Oh,
our favorite.
Yes. Because because I have a friend who cosplays Micolash, and she's just beautiful. She has Amy's got the best. She's the best Micolash out there.
So you're gonna have a Micolash, an Edgar, but are you gonna have a werewolf lawyer?
I should have. You know what? We need a werewolf lawyer. I wish I could. I wish I could talk Nick into being a werewolf lawyer. I want Nick to be a werewolf lawyer.
That would be perfect and relevant.
Incredibly relevant. He's already a lawyer. He just needs to now be a werewolf.
Wait, I thought he was a werewolf.
Oh shit.
Oh yeah. Richie's so quiet. He's like, what are they talking about? Stay on topic.
You guys are talking about garbage. This is garbage. What is this podcast about again?
No, I just don't like interrupting people.
No, he went to take a nap. Like, it's gonna be a long podcast.
Just get off track, like completely derailed, because that's everything that I do as well.
But I saw the pictures of your cosplay with the cage. It looked amazing.
Thank you. My friend has some really good photo editing skills to get the seams on the top of it off, just because it's my Menses cage is made entirely out of wooden dowel rods, cardboard, foam, and duct tape with some stuff, with some spray paint on top of it.
But that's exactly how Micolash made his as well.
I'm pretty sure he did. At what point? That's one thing I was always wondering. Like, I was making the cage, and I was like, "What does this even do?" Like, I know what the item description does. I know what the item description is. What does this even do? Why are you wearing this? How strong are your shoulders, sir? I need to know.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. Like, did they have a lot of like work-related back pain injuries?
Well, my concern would be like hitting it on the tops of door frames as you walked through them.
The thing about that is, okay, so that's actually a thing that people had brought up with me, because I'm going back to cosplay things, but when I wore it to the convention, I strapped myself into it. I have like a harness system that I literally strap it to my body so that it doesn't fall, and I can wear it the whole time. I didn't realize this, but I'm really, really short. I'm about 4'10".
Mm-hmm.
So I can still get through doorways just fine.
Do you have to limbo a little bit?
No. Not even a little bit. I can walk through like the lowest door frames. And the Menses cage I made is about 3 feet tall. I made it a little bit too tall. So I'm literally adding like 3 feet to my height, and I'm still able to get through door frames.
Well, I feel so much better now. I am now not the only person in the podcast that can't reach high shelves.
I cannot reach high shelves. I need a lot of help.
But do you, when you can't reach the high shelves, stand there with a kitchen knife and just poke at things until they fall down?
And then they fall down and you catch them.
Yes, I've done that.
You see, Richie? This is, because, oh my god, Bean, I've never loved you more in my life, because you are proving so many points to Richie right now.
My boyfriend put my gin on the back of the fridge, and I couldn't reach it, so I just stood there and just looked at it until he got it down. I was like, why did you put this at the back of the fridge? You know this is mine. Give me my gin down.
I think my boyfriend does that with Nutella, but he does it so I don't eat it all in one shot.
Yeah, just sit there with a tub of Nutella and a spoon, yeah. Living the good life.
Yay. Do you think Micolash loves gin and Nutella?
I think Micolash loves gin and absinthe. That's what I drank when I was at the con. I was fucked up on absinthe like half the time when I was just like running around as Micolash, because I'm like, this is exactly what a Victorian madman would drink.
So wait, do you think absinthe is the reason why Micolash thought he could contact the Great One through his cage?
I think absinthe is the reason why he just does what he does in general and tries to drink to forget. And just the fact that it's just the world that Bloodborne is in. I'm not particularly surprised that there's anyone that like is like Micolash, because it's so ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Once you start, I mean, you know, think about it in anyone's perspective. Just like okay, presuming that he was a previous scholar at Bergenworth, finds out about fucking like the Orphan of Cause and it's just, and like all that garbage, and then Lawrence leaves, and he's like, yeah, let's keep doing this. Yeah, let's keep doing it. I want to get there. That's what I want. I'm gonna keep doing it. That's it. And then just completely, it just I mean, I would say he's insane because he's obviously not crazy. I mean, he's crazy, but it's not like he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I feel like he's not crazy at all. I feel like he's just an intellectual who had a dream and a passion that he pursued, and then he kind of got it. He was almost there trying to do his thing, and then the hunter comes into his castle, his life, and kills him. I find that so unfair.
They're like, you walk into his house and you just murder him, and you have nothing else you can do.
Yeah.
I always felt that it's really similar to how Rom is, because you literally just like walk into her house and kill her. But everyone's like, oh, poor Rom, because she's super defenseless and she's not like talking at you. And everybody's like, no, Micolash deserved it. And I'm like, no, fuck you. Listen, he's not doing anything that you would like know as like wrong.
Well, aside from kidnapping an invisible baby that may be from the anime series that I like, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the cow baby?
I'm pretty sure it's the cow baby.
Is Murgo the cow baby?
I think so. Did Yarnum have a pacifier on her neck? We need to go double check.
Yeah, we need to go check that, like, right now.
I'm sure Lance can try digging it up.
Yeah.
Yes, put a pacifier in the item. Just like put like an item into it. Just be like, yep, this existed totally in the base game. Here's a pacifier. And it's just like a really shitty like photoshopped like image of a pacifier. Just right there.
Yeah.
Photoshop that bitch right in there.
So your cage conversation made me wonder. So the cage is supposed to bring him in contact with the Great Ones, right?
Yes.
That's how it's explained,
but how? Is it like an antenna?
It's like an antenna. Yeah, it's like an antenna. It says that in the item description.
Yeah, it literally says it acts like an antenna.
Is that healthy?
No.
Clearly not.
What if you put a little plate antenna on the cage? Do you think it would work better?
Like satellite reception.
Yeah.
Yeah, put a little satellite on it. Just like one of those little like the like disc the dish. Like
the dish
satellite.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna get some channels from the fucking
pay-per-view
universe. Direct to my brain, thanks.
Oh, that reminds me of that Batman movie. Oh, God. You know the exclamation mark or whatever the guy is? Like, he put a thing on his head.
Riddler?
Yeah, the Riddler. Okay, there we go. And then he sucked people's brains out through the TV.
Oh my God, he does, doesn't he?
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Is that the Tim Burton one?
No, that's the first Schumacher one. It's the Val Kilmer one.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, no, I do remember that.
Do you think that was a prequel to the Micolash story?
Oh God, the Riddler?
You think the Riddler is Micolash?
The Riddler confirmed.
The Riddler is Micolash. Yeah.
No. Oh my God. I realized that if I walked around the con without my cage on, people would think I was Harry Potter. So I just constantly wore it.
Oh, damn. Well, no, that just makes it versatile cosplay.
It does. Like, it was like one of those great, like insane Gryffindor robes. I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I did kind of use Hogwarts robes to make this. Like, the pattern I found online was like for like Hogwarts robes, and then I altered the sleeves. And that's it. And then it's just ridiculous. They're a mess. My friend's just like, I have a friend I have a couple friends that are seamstress, but my one friend that was with me was like, I want to remake these. I was like, yeah.
So, do you guys think Micolash succeeded in contacting the Great Ones?
Kind of.
I mean, yeah, I think that, I don't know if he was going about it wrong or what. Like, you don't know what would have happened if you just left him be.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, well, wait. To remind people, Richie, can you tell us what Micolash's great plan was?
Micolash's great plan was to steal Murgo, the child of Queen Yana, take Murgo to the Nightmare of Menses, and use Murgo to beckon Cos, who is the great one that the Bergenworth scholars encountered at the fishing hamlet. And from what Micolash says during his boss fight, the story seems to be that the Bergenworth scholars initially used the Orphan of Cos to beckon Cos, and Cos sort of blessed the mind of Rom when Rom was a human, which transformed Rom into this spider thing. And Micolash sees that as like a failure, like Rom wasn't enlightened enough. And Micolash believes that because he is enlightened enough, if he comes in contact with Cos, instead of becoming a vacuous spider, he will become sort of the next great one.
He'll become a brain genius?
I think he already is a brain genius.
He'll become a sidewalk slug.
Yeah.
Just like you, if you do the
Yeah.
the sidewalk slug ending.
He wants to become that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Which is what I call that ending, is sidewalk slug. Because that's what you are. You turn into a slug on the sidewalk.
So that seems kind of straightforward, but what I don't understand is that there's also a Menses ritual going on in Yahar'gul.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why is there this whole convoluted Yahar'gul story going on with the Red Moon and whatever, and the Thumerians working for Micolash, where all he wants to do is to beckon Cos in his nightmare?
One of my theories about that would be that the Thumerian bell-ringing women aren't actually working with Mensis. I don't think that there's any,
Yeah, I don't think they are either.
indication for that. So I was thinking that maybe that the Mensis ritual that happened that brought Micolash to be the host of the nightmare is what caused a rift and made the Thumerian blowing women come up from either a rift in fucking space-time or some shit, or come up from the chalices and then begin their own blood ritual.
Yeah, the Thumerians that work for Micolash are the ones with the sacks, the snatches.
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're working for Micolash and they're collecting people for the ritual they're performing in Yahar'gul. But what happens after the Red Moon in Yahar'gul is all just a horrible accident.
Mm-hmm.
So the bell ringing women, the piles of corpses, the one reborn, the kind of the werewolves that are made out of body parts that are killing the snatches and everything. That's all none of that was part of the plan. That was just the ritual got out of control.
Okay, so the bagmen are collecting body parts for a ritual for Micolash initially.
I think we've talked about this a lot before, but Thumerians just seem to be kind of like zombies. You can just direct them to do stuff for you. So the church has the church servants, the tall, pale ones working for them. Micolash has they're just called the kidnappers, I think. People call them snatchers, I think they just call them kidnappers internally, working for him. And what they're doing is they're capturing people and they're bringing them to Yahar'gul. And they're keeping them in those cells, and then when the time comes for the ritual, they're all herded into the area called Advent Plaza. And there's some sort of mass sacrifice that summons the Red Moon. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, what happened in what order is slightly confused.
I've always been really confused about the age of the corpses in the Advent Plaza.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't... they've obviously been there for a long time, so...
We
really...
don't know, though.
But they're mummified, right? So...
Yeah, Micolash is a mummy.
The thing is, those corpses the corpses we're talking about are ones that are, fused inside of a wall.
Yeah, those ones you don't know either.
Yeah.
Those are weird.
Yeah, you don't know where they're from, but at the same time, when you visit Yahar'gul before the Red Moon, when you come back again, there are other corpses that are new and fresh, and they look the same. They also have the same, there's these corpses that they're in these sort of craters, and they're burning.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Yeah.
look like it's the same texture that the ones in Advent Plaza have. And the burning corpses are presumably fresh. So
Yeah.
I think the ones in Advent Plaza are fresh as well. That happened after we killed Rom and the Red Moon appeared.
Yeah. So I guess Bean, a lot of people wonder what are those burning corpses for? What's their purpose?
I've never really thought about them in that way. I know that there's like this thing that, at least I think somebody told me this. It's a hearsay thing, but if you basically get them to not be lit, the one reborn is just kind of like doesn't do anything. Like, and I have done it before where I've gotten those cramped caskets to just like light themselves on fire and subsequently get the those burning corpses to just go out and not be burning anymore, and then go into the one reborn fight. And it's just he doesn't vomit everywhere if you do that. At least that's what I've noticed. But apart from that, I don't know. They seem to be part of the. They seem to have something to do with the Chime Maidens, or with like the cramped casket type stuff going on, and those body parts that are just, the body parts that make up the one reborn. It seems just like a whole bunch of convoluted stuff that I don't really know what's happening exactly with those, but they seem to have something to do with one reborn, at least.
Yeah.
Richie, do you have any theories?
Well, like the way that you activate the chalices and do the rituals is you use body parts. And like in the Thumerian Labyrinth, you find body parts that are like explicitly called things like inflicted organ and yellow backbone and stuff. And when you beat the one reborn, you get one of those body parts, and it's the yellow backbone, and it specifically says like, this is like body parts that were used as bait to lure something. So it looks like what was happening in Advent Plaza is that they just like was this mass human sacrifice. There were just body parts everywhere. And that like called down, was instrumental in calling down the Red Moon. Because the Thumerians are attracted, and the Great Ones are attracted to all this death and decay. So it was like a sacrifice that summoned this god thing that was the Red Moon.
Okay, so the rituals that the Bell Maidens are performing, is that what summons the Red Moon?
No, the impression I get is that like what happens in the ritual is that they're sacrificing people in Advent Plaza.
Right.
And then this is happening like before the Red Moon happens, because like you can speak to Adela in the cells, and she's like, they're coming to the cells and they're taking us, and I never see those people again, and I can hear all this screaming coming from the distance. And at this point in the game, you can't get into Advent Plaza.
Right.
So presumably all this shit's going on in Advent Plaza because it's not happening in the rest of Yahagul.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think is happening is they're doing all this shit to summon the Red Moon. Rom.
Right, there's Rom.
Somehow, they don't really go into specifics about this, but Rom is somehow holding back the Red Moon.
Right.
Like, Rom is stopping the Red Moon from breaking through. So when Rom dies, suddenly the ritual is completed, but, like, no one was expecting it, and they've been, like, building up to it all night. So it's this sudden, like a bomb goes off and, like, just decimates the whole city. And that, I think, is what summons the Bell Maidens, because suddenly there's all this, like, there's the Red Moon, there's the Great Ones, there's body parts everywhere. So, like, the Bell Maidens just sort of appear, and they're like, oh, good. Like, there's all this, like, we're necromancers, we love dead bodies, they're all over the place. There's blood everywhere.
Yeah. They're like, I love this.
Yeah, this is great. And they just start ringing their bells and bringing all these, like, corpses back to life, because that's what they do. And, like, they make the one reborn.
Uh-huh.
Like, there's some confusion over, like, did Menses make the one reborn? Were they trying to make their own great one? But, like, I think it's pretty clear from what you see that the one reborn is literally just, like, it's a collection of all the dead bodies that were in Advent Plaza. And the Bell Maidens just ring their bells, and it like, forms into this huge sort of, like, zombie golem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I have another thing that maybe Bean can answer, because she's a great Micolash psychologist. So the Red Moon that's supposed to, like, blur boundaries between the worlds and all that, and, like, it even makes the amygdala visible to us, right? After the Red Moon happens, that's what's supposed to beckon cause. But then Micolash is somewhere in his own nightmare trying to beckon him. Why isn't he in Yahar'gul when this happens?
When the Red Moon hangs low, it's like it basically separates the Great Ones, the realm of the Great Ones and the Nightmare realms from reality. So it's like the veil is kind of dissipating at that point. So it's weird, because he's already kind of in. It seems like he's already been in a nightmare, like, for
I would say that, yeah.
while.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't think it doesn't seem like it's another confusing thing, because I know they've been trying to beckon a Red Moon. I think that they were just like confused as to why it wasn't happening, unless it's common knowledge that Rom is holding the Red Moon back.
I think it is.
Is it?
I think Mensis were planning to kill Rom anyway, because you can summon a Mensis guy to fight Rom.
Yeah, because you can summon Damien.
Yeah. The other thing is the note in the little sort of area before Erden Chapel, that like study. It's kind of like not clear. It just says like the Bergenworth spider is hiding the ritual and keeps our lost master from us. And like there's a lot of like, what exactly does this mean? Is it referring to Willem? Is it referring to like, is the spider Rom, or is the spider Patches? Is the spider the amygdala? And like, we've gone over this a lot in the last 3 years, and the simplest we can do, looking at it in like English and also in Japanese, and like going over all the different scripts and everything, is that it was written by someone from Mensis, and it's saying that the Red Moon, the Bergenworth spider being Rom, is hiding the ritual, meaning the Mensis ritual that is calling the Red Moon. It's like obscuring that, and the Lost Master it's referring to is Micolash.
Micolash, because of the...
So like,
the Japanese actually has that, right?
Yeah, it's the confusion came from the way that in English Willem is referred to as Master Willem.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought, oh, Lost Master Bergenworth Spider, it's Master Willem. But looking at the Japanese, it's like it uses it doesn't, in the Japanese always calls him like Sensei Willem. So it doesn't use Sensei, it uses Master, which is like, I think they call Micolash that as well at some point. So
okay,
yeah, so it does seem to be referring explicitly to Micolash, and like, yeah,
it seems like there might have been multiple different types of experimentation going on within Mensis, because you find all those mirrors. So perhaps there was still something going on in Yarhargul. Obviously, there's something going on in Yarhargul at the same time that Micolash would have been in the Nightmare of Menses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you guys were talking, I just understood what my problem is with this whole thing and why it didn't make sense. What I think Micolash should have done, logically, is have the ritual in Yahargul, but have Murgo there as well. Because this is where you're blurring the boundaries and removing the veil. So if Kaz shows up, Kaz should show up like where the Red Moon is, looking for the baby, which is Murgo, and it should be in the real world and not in the nightmare.
But I think the deal is that like Micolash is trapped in the Nightmare of Menses and can't leave, and that's why they need the Red Moon.
Okay, but why did he go there in the first place? Couldn't he wait?
To get Murgo, right?
Well, okay. The thing about Murgo is that they presumably had Murgo all game, because if you you can hear Murgo crying. I think the breakpoint is 60 insight. You hear Murgo, and like if you get 60, if you co-op against Cleric Beast or whatever, or just go into New Game Plus at the very very beginning of the game, Murgo's always crying. So they've always, like, since before the game began, they have had Murgo in the Nightmare. And, like, the way Micolash... When you kill Micolash, he says, like, now I'm waking up, I'll forget everything. Makes it sound like he's done this before. Like, he's used to sort of going to the Nightmare, and then suddenly, like, he wakes up, he forgets what he learned, he goes back into the Nightmare. Like, he's been going back and forth from the dream for a very long time. And something we assume it's Rom because of that note in Erden Chapel. Like, Rom is keeping our master from us. Whatever Rom is doing to hold back the Red Moon has, like, shut off, like, locked off Micolash's, like, consciousness from his body. And that's presumably why, like, the Micolash body you find in Yahogul is like a mummy at this point, because he's been, like, his body has just died. And he's been in the Nightmare for a very long time, but, like, he doesn't understand, like, time anymore, and he thinks he doesn't know how long he's been there, and he thinks that he'll just wake up again.
Okay, so the way I think I can now be at peace with it, because it kind of makes sense to me now. So basically what happened was Micolash kidnapped Murgo for the ritual in Yahargul, but then, let's say, to hide Murgo from other people or whatever, he put Murgo in his own little loft, and then he would go back and forth between Yahargul and the Nightmare of Menses. But then one day, Rom is like, no, and Micolash kind of got stuck there while going between the two worlds or whatever, while visiting there.
Yeah.
And then he stayed there, and then the ritual stayed here. And so, like, it would make sense if it wasn't intentional. Like, if the long-term plan was to have the Red Moon and Murgo in the same place so that Cos shows up.
Yeah, because like when you encounter him, he specifically says like, "We won't abandon the dream. No one can catch us. No one can stop us." Meaning like he's performing the ritual in the dream away from everything else.
Wait, what ritual is he performing in the dream?
In the ritual he's performing in the dream is beckoning Cos using Murgo.
Mm-hmm.
But then why does he need a red moon in Yahar'gul?
No. The ritual in Yahar'gul isn't him. That's the rest of Menses. And what they're doing is they're creating the red moon to break down the barriers further. So that, like, firstly they can... The red moon... Micolash needs the red moon as part of beckoning Cos because that will break down the barriers, like, between the physical world and the dreamlands. It makes them more malleable. I think that's why the corpses in Yahar'gul are fused into the wall. Because, like, kind of the barriers broke down briefly and everything was fluid. So people got trapped in stuff.
But he doesn't need to break down the barriers because he's already in the dreamland. So Cos can just come on over from Cos's dreamland to Micolash's dreamland.
I think he can't contact Cos unless the red moon is out.
Mm-hmm. I think it's integral to have the red moon out in reality, like not in the dreamlands, and then also be functioning at the same time in the dreamlands to try and get this pulled together.
I think he got it wrong. I think he could have just contacted Cos from the Nightmare of Menses.
But the thing is, like, he does contact something, but he contacts two great ones in the Nightmare of Menses, but neither of them are Cos.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm right.
I'm not even sure what you were saying.
I don't know what you're right about.
What I'm saying is, you don't even need the red moon ritual. All you need to do is find a nightmare or a dreamland to chill in, and then other great ones will come over and visit from their dreamlands.
Yeah, but like, for example, Erden can't impregnate Ariana unless the red moon's out.
Yes.
The implication is that, like, beckoning the moon presence in the hunter's dream is what creates the red moon, like, in the real, like, the moon is, like, the same in both. So, like, you need the moon to be red for shit to happen in the dreamlands as well.
No.
Okay.
Only in the real world.
Okay.
Only in the real world.
I know, it's really confusing because, like, there is a large moon in the Nightmare of Menses that is not red.
Exactly.
But in the hunter's dream, there is a moon that does go red. And it's like...
But isn't that the embodiment of the moon presence?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it?
It is. There's no ritual going on in the hunter's dream. Therefore, it is the embodiment of the moon presence, like Bean says. Thank you, Bean.
I think the thing with the hunter's dream and how that all goes down is literally not the same way that, like, you as the player are going about ascension in a completely different way that Micolash would have been going about it, because...
Well, the thing is, like, they did perform a similar ritual in the workshop. That's where the third chord comes from. Yeah. So, like, they brought a third chord to the workshop and tried to beckon the moon presence with that. Micolash is doing the same thing, but he has a different... I guess his goal is different because he just wants to meet Cos to help him ascend. Whereas we don't exactly know why Lawrence wanted to beckon the moon presence initially. Because
we know.
Why?
Because he wanted immortal hunters to fight the beasts.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
But you said we don't really know. And then I said, we know.
Yeah, we don't really know that. We're just assuming that.
No, we know.
Okay, we know.
Okay. I'm glad we're all on the same page now, Sinclair.
I'm sure there's like a 6,000 word Reddit post about why we're all wrong.
Yes, I think so. That actually reminds me of something that's a little bit of a tangent.
A tangent on this podcast?
A little bit, because I was just like, whenever I read like stuff, I started. Of course, everyone's like, I started on like Reddit because I didn't know Discord was a thing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, the first lore person I discovered obviously was Redgraves, mm-hmm. And I read all of the Pale Blood Hunt, and I was like, I got to the point, or I read all of it until he started talking about Micolash, and he was like, he's crazy, and I was like, I'm stopping reading this right now.
And then you burned the manuscript.
Oh yeah, I just lit my whole entire desktop on fire. No. But that was one thing that I was like, no, he can't be crazy. So I had to like, that's how I found you guys. Yeah, well, that's the reason how I found you guys' podcast is I was just like digging lore.
Uh-huh.
I was like digging up as much lore as I could, and I found Aegon's stuff first.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I discovered Richard. And then I was like, oh, there's another podcast.
Oh.
And that's how this happened.
Awesome.
That was a tangent, sorry.
No,
okay,
it's fine.
Anyway, back to Micolash.
Yeah, back to Micolash, the star of the show.
Yes.
So why don't you think Micolash is crazy?
I just don't. He seems like he knows what he's talking about. I mean, when you listen to his dialogue, obviously he's ranting or rambling because it doesn't always make any sense, especially if you just started playing the game and you're like, well, I don't know what the DLC is. But the fact that he knows of cause.
Yeah.
And I know he would know, of course, being a Bergenwer scholar, but he kind of seems to be like he's like got a great one. He's like got there's the cord that they had that Mensis had that he has. There's like all this other shit that seems to be falling into place. It's just not there yet. I think he might be crazy because he doesn't know how time works anymore.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's crazy in terms of what he's actually doing.
Yeah, he's the closest you get to someone who succeeds.
Yeah.
Yes.
Other than the player.
Yeah. I think I'm like I've done many runs. Actually the first run I did for Bloodborne, I got to Micolash and I was like, I just sat there. I refused to go. I was like, this is where I draw the line. I will go kill a spider to get the red moon to come out, but I refuse to go in there and kill a defenseless man with a cage on his head. He's not defenseless. He kills the shit out of me all the time. Yeah. But I refuse. He's such a meme fight. Oh, God, I love it so much. Just slap me with that fucking Augur Arboretus, please. Just slap the shit out of me. And every time he kills me, I have a friend that we ran through the game together, and he actually struggled with Micolash quite a bit. I didn't. I don't know why I didn't, but I was like, when I went in there to kill him, I was like, I'm gonna get it. I did it the first try, but my friend had a lot of struggles with him. And every time Micolash would one-shot me as I was a summon, I would just like clap. I would just be like, yes, son, yes, get there, please. Yes. Like, thank you for killing me. I get really excited about that. I do. And every time he kills me, I'm just like, yes. Oh my God, I'm so proud of you. Please get there.
So, if Micolash succeeded in becoming a great one, what do you think would happen?
Bloodborne 2?
Bloodborne 2?
Oh my God, maybe Bloodborne 2 is going to be just that.
You know what? I was actually if there is a Bloodborne 2, I swear to God, it's got to be a prequel. If it's not a prequel, I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to be able to like choose like actual factions and not just like whatever the fuck the runes are.
Yeah.
Like, why can't you let me be an actual like choir member or like a Menses scholar?
Yeah.
Like, those would be great factions. Why can't I do this? Can't do that in actual Bloodborne because everyone's dead. but you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be quality stuff.
Oh, let's look at the document. I completely forgot about it.
Oh yeah, my weird questions about like who has control over the Dreamlands and how that functions.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Bean, who has control over the Dreamlands? How does that function?
I have literally tried to like figure this out because I've always been incredibly confused by the all of the mirrors in the Nightmare of Menses because they're the same mirrors that are in Yahar'gul.
Yep.
And I've just the dog crows and the crow dogs, like that's some fucked up shit right there. That's definitely not coming from Like a lot of the Marion type things, like the like Murgo's attendants and those types of enemies are very standard, I think, for like that because Murgo is there.
Yeah.
And then the giant lost children and the silver beasts are pretty standard as well because you find things like that in the Nightmare Frontier.
Yeah.
But the weird enemies, like the dog crows, like what is that? Like Micolash, like I can only think about it as him. Like
yeah, maybe.
I really don't know where they come from or how they got there, and it confuses the hell out of me to this day. I've just like literally just been looking at that, and then the marionettes as well because the marionette city summons are super strange.
Yeah.
Because they're like that. They look exactly like one of the paintings in Canehurst.
Yeah.
And you can actually find a chalice where the marionettes were there.
Yeah, it's like one weird chalice that
yeah.
you can't make anymore. It was like on one specific patch, and now you can't be recreating it.
I actually just found a chalice that worked that had them,
Yeah.
but they're not functioning.
Yeah.
They're like falling down. They're like they fell over. They're like
yeah,
just there.
It was like you could make that chalice on like one specific patch. So like it exists on the server, but you can't make a new one. It's like it's floating around, but you won't be able to generate your own that works like that.
Yeah, I remember going there, but they seem to have turned off the marionettes because I actually went to the
Yeah, they don't have functional AI.
I was like, come on. And we kept trying to get them to wake up by using like the Madaris whistle, but they're just like textures. We just kept trying to kill the marionettes with Madaris whistle, but it didn't work. But those things are so strange. Like there's nothing out there that's like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it has anything to do with like the lore, or if it's just like they were like, we're gonna put these things in this boss fight.
I absolutely think it's the latter.
This poor man.
Because you're saying like they look like a guy from Canehurst, and they absolutely do. And I'm like 99% certain at this point that like they were just a thing that was going to be in Canehurst. They didn't put it in Canehurst, and they're like, oh, we'll put it in this Micolash fight because he needs ads. Because you can't just chase him. You've got to have like minions or something.
I mean, I love thinking of Micolash as a puppet master. In that regard,
yeah, it's really good because it matches
so
with the doll.
flavorful.
Like the Hunter's Dream's you've got Gurman and the doll in the Hunter's Dream, and then in the Nightmare of Menses, you've got Micolash and his creepy puppets that he summons.
I know, it makes me really happy.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yes. So that's one of the things that those things really confused me because they seem like elements that have been not necessarily brought in by Micolash, but the fact that he's been there so long really harkens back to like the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadab.
Yeah.
So where that one guy, like, what is it? King Kuranus?
Kuranus, yeah.
Yeah, he was able to alter the Dreamlands after he'd been there.
Yeah,
for quite some time.
He's been there so long that his body dies and he lives on in the Dreamlands, and he's able to like. It's like an afterlife for him, and he's able to dream up like a copy of the village he used to live in and things like that.
Yeah. And that's. I think that harkens. I think that. I found that resonated really well with like Micolash and how that functions, but I know that doesn't have any like actual in-game lore pull, but I was like thinking about it in that way, and
but, like, that's more interesting.
It is, and how there's a lot of just different things that are like that. Okay, another random thing. I spend a lot of time in the Nightmare of Menses. I spend a lot of time there.
Yeah.
I've looked at all of the books, and there is not a copy of How to Pick Up Fair Maidens.
Oh,
I swear there is not. The textures on the books are slightly different, but I haven't been able to find one. If there is one, I don't know, but I cannot find a copy of How to Pick Up Fair Maidens in the Nightmare of Menses. Fun fact. I spent a lot of time looking. I don't use actual resources, I just go there.
Yeah, Rich has spent a lot of time in the Nightmares as well, connecting it to Lauren and stuff.
Yeah. The Silver Beasts and stuff.
Well, yeah, I think the implication, and that like the DLC sort of confirms it, is that the Nightmare Frontier is like to Lauren what the Hunter's Nightmare is to Yharnam. It's just like left over, and that's why you find the the Lauren silver beasts there, because they're specifically called Lauren silver beasts.
Mhm.
And they're infected with the like vermin parasites that are jumping out of their bodies as they attack you, and you find like the construction of it with the huge glowing brain in the center and the two kind of parts either side of it. It looks to me like it's meant to be evocative of the Grand Cathedral. So this looks like maybe that was like the way this is all cyclical. That would have been Lauren's equivalent of the Grand Cathedral, and in place of the clock, you had this huge brain.
Oh.
And you find like the silver beasts outside, they still have like torches, which is it's reminiscent of the way like it's an unused cutscene, but there's a cutscene of like the huntsman descending on the clock tower with these burning torches. So it's almost like this is a snapshot of Lauren just as it was falling apart and everyone had turned into a beast, and there was this huge like cathedral in the distance with the glowing sort of sun looking down on it. And the brain itself, like, it's reminiscent of Rom in a sense, because like the idea behind Rom is a great one, but it was a failed great one who's like not enlightened enough. So she just becomes this sort of like dumb thing. But then like you have the brain, and the brain is described in kind of similar terms, that like it's a great one, but they talk about like the inside of it is rotten and the eyes don't work, and when you eventually confront it, it can't do anything. It just lies in this sort of abyss, like sort of wiggling, but it can't hurt you. And it's very reminiscent of like when you encounter Rom. Rom is in this like white void, and until she summons the spider, she can't do anything either. So it's like, was the brain the equivalent of Rom for this civilization? Like, was the first great one they made the brain, and then they sort of perfected the process and made Cos.
Oh, that's really interesting. I never thought about the brain of Menses in that way, actually, because I was always really confused as to what it was doing. Like, I'm just
the thing about the brain is like there's a line that is really weird in the English script that says like, the third court allowed them contact with Mergo, but resulted in the stillbirth of their brains, which is a really weird way of writing that. It's like kind of awkward and strange, and the way it talked about like stillbirth of the brains. There was this theory that like the brain of Mensis is literally the brain of Mensis, that like everyone in Mensis kind of like fused into this weird gestalt brain entity. And that's what it's referring to. But I think like it's a lot simpler to just say that like this thing was just there in the nightmare they found it. Because when you see the brain, it's like it's on top of this tower, and outside of it there's all these Mensis corpses that have been frenzied to death. And like the way that you get there is there's a locked door that you need a key to open, and the key is very specifically like Mensis locked this door to stop you from getting to something you shouldn't find. So I think the idea is that like they were fucking around in like they projected themselves into this nightmare. They were fucking around, and they like somehow like dredged the brain up because it's got all these chains attached to it. And they said, "Oh, good, we found the great one," and they dredged it up, and it's this like giant like idiot brain that just killed them all. And then they're like, okay, that didn't work. But like,
well, yeah. Put that thing back where it came from, so help me.
Basically, yeah. And like, of course, like going over the Japanese script, it doesn't mention stillbirth at all. It's basically just like they contacted Mergo and their brains rotted away, or like their brains became decayed. So like it's not mentioning like the brain, not like the birth of a brain. Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense, because that always confused the hell out of me. And I had a feeling that it was just like, it's the brain's been there because of the Menses, or the corpses that you find.
And there's like literally like a housing for the brain that like was built.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not like this thing just came into being instantly. It's like this building was always there, and there was always a brain like connected to it. Yeah.
Oh man, oh wow, yeah. Oh. Like thinking about the damn. Nice. This is what happens. I get really excited. I'm just like, yeah, nice. It's awesome. Let's see. Did you have any questions?
I'm just gonna. Can I just like have a minute to open the window because the cat's having a tantrum, and I think it's going to start showing up on the audio. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Aw, kitty.
I know.
Say hi to your cat for me.
I'll say hi to the cat. Bean says hi.
Hi.
She didn't respond.
Yeah, it's okay. I know. I love cats. Amy's always sending me pictures of her cat, and I just love it. It's like, please send me more pictures of Frisk. So good. It is hot in here. What is happening?
Here too. It's been crazy.
It's not hot now, but it's like it's cooling down. But for some reason, my room is really hot. I'm just like, why?
That's because you're in it.
Oh shit! Ah! Ooh! Oh! Compliments this early? What did I do? Oh boy! Ah! Gets me right here. So good. Richard comes back and we're just like, girl talk, sorry!
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
Okay, that should hold her for the time being.
Aw. Kitty.
Yeah. So you had a comment here about the Bergenworth lecture building.
Yeah.
Mm.
Is it somebody? I think it was talking to someone. I think it was Herbert West about the Bergenworth lecture building being like a manifestation, like the second floor, like the memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, the game never really explains what's going on there. It just says, like, the Bergenworth lecture building is in the nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
but
'cause,
I remember having...
It's so weird.
It's strange.
Because
but I think that it could be.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think it could be. I mean, there's like a weird... The thing about the second floor is what gets me, because there's that church giant.
Yep.
Like, okay. Like, I know it guards that
The
little
ladder
like,
to
ladder
where
that goes
Patches
down
is,
to
yeah.
Patches is, which is it's strange. Like, I guess they were just like, you shouldn't go find Patches. Like, it seems like something Patches would do, like put a fucking church giant right there in your way. But I don't really get it. And of course, the slime dwellers are the same.
Yeah.
As they are in the lower level.
What if the church giant is just someone who wanted to go to college?
He's there on, like, a sports scholarship.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's there. He's really good at swinging.
Yeah. Oh my God, Richie! He's playing that sport we talked about. Because he doesn't need to breathe underwater because he's dead. He's really well built physically, so he'd be perfect for like kicking or throwing a ball.
Yeah. Okay.
What's that sport?
Kickball.
No.
Blitzball.
Yeah, blitzball.
Blitzball. Oh, and Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about with Sanity SK beforehand.
Oh,
So he's
dude,
there on a blitzball
Yeah.
scholarship.
I hate that minigame.
There you go. It all makes sense.
God, I just think about how I lose every time I play Blitzball.
That's because you didn't have the giant on your team, girl.
It's true. I need to go get that church giant from Bloodborne and put it directly into Final Fantasy X.
Yes.
That's all I need to do. Easy. Oh my god. But yeah, I think the lecture building is just weird. I love it, but it's just very strange because the first floor leads out to the Nightmare Frontier, and second floor leads out to Nightmare of Menses, and you're just like, okay, like just shrug, okay.
It's also weird because the way that they display it as being in the nightmare is that it's just dark outside and there's purple mist.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but if you look at other places in the nightmare, like they have a sky and they have a ground, like the research hall in the nightmare, the hunter's nightmare, like you can see the sky out the windows and you can go outside and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like, it's just like, it feels like what it is, which is that like they made this area and cut it. And then it's like, I guess it's a dream now.
Yeah.
And they don't really explain any of it.
Yeah. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead, Sid. No.
No. Well, I'm thinking it could kind of be explained. Let's say there's a bunch of Bergenworth campuses around, and somehow one of them...
That's my explanation.
Yeah. Well, somehow one of them got sucked into a nightmare, maybe possibly because of something Rom did, trying to block the Menses ritual somehow. And so it's literally just sucked into this other place, and that's why it feels like it, you know?
Well, my old campus got demolished,
Oh.
so
Is your campus
same
also
thing.
in the nightmare?
I think it is.
It might be. You might be able to recreate it from my memory.
Yeah, there you go. Let's try that. Anyone got a Menses
It's-
cake?
Yeah, you do.
I do.
Cage.
It's at home. Well, it's in Virginia, but it's still there.
There we go.
Well, I've got like a lake and a chair and a spider, so
Oh, good.
Oh yeah.
we're almost
So
there.
we got Willem, we got Micolash.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got this. I think
Yeah.
that it definitely just seems like they cut the lecture building from like Bergenworth proper, and then just was like, we're gonna put this here for no other
that's
reason.
literally what they
like
did.
no other.
Well, I think that, like they felt like they couldn't cut it because there's like stuff there that you need.
Yeah.
There's like the note mentioning the 3/3
Yeah.
chords, and there's like references to Lawrence, and there's like some runes and shit that you couldn't get elsewhere.
Yeah.
So I think like, yeah, we don't know exactly why they cut Bergenworth, but it looks like, I guess they cut it and they were like, we have to like, this stuff's still important, so we'll be
Yeah.
like in the nightmare.
Yeah, but also the game, like the first time you play it, it seems really long because it's like, oh, long and scary. But then when you replay it again, it's not that long at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, if they cut that, it would make it even shorter.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like super short. Like I can get to the woods in like 2 hours. Like if I like pick up everything and like don't skip dialogue, cutscenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how do you think that works? Like you mentioned being in the document where you touch the corpse of Micolash and you get transported into the nightmare.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's like you get Micolash is a gateway to get to the lecture building, which
Yeah.
is odd because then you have to go through a big door to get to
Yeah.
the Nightmare of Menses, which doesn't make any sense to me because he's in the Nightmare of Menses. Why wouldn't his body take you there?
Like the whole thing would make more sense if the amygdala took you directly to the Nightmare Frontier.
Yes.
And Micolash took you directly to Nightmare of Menses without this like sort of buffer zone in between.
Yeah, I was just thinking that that's part of the reason why I think that it could like at least the second floor of the lecture building is like a manifestation of his memories because you literally have to interact with his corpse to get there. So,
And you could also look at the lecture hall as like it's like the two paths that diverged from Bergenworth, where like one path went to the Nightmare Frontier and the other half went to the Nightmare of Menses. Because you find like church shit in the Nightmare Frontier.
yeah, and then there's
Yeah.
church. Is there church hunters? I know there's random hunters, but is one of them?
Yeah, there's two church
That's
hunters. There's like, one of them is explicitly a church hunter. I don't know if the other one
I think the other one's wearing like the hunter set, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Um,
And one of them has like blood drunk eyes, which we only just found out. And I'm like,
oh,
they had this planned out a long time ago, didn't they?
oh wow. Huh.
Like one of them has one milky white eye.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Jeez, they had that stuff. They definitely had the DLC, at least some of the DLC planned, and then I guess
Yeah.
something happened and it just turned into something.
Just ran out of. Well, it got delayed like a couple of
Mm.
times before it came out, so I think they were just running out of time.
That's fair. That's why it's all kind of just one
Yeah.
big conglomerate,
One big dream.
one
thing.
big dream thing that happened.
You were also asking about mirrors.
Oh, the mirrors. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like
Yep, the mirrors.
the mirrors are weird because I was saying earlier about the mirrors being the same as they are in Yarhargul, and then Micolash utilizing them in his boss fight for teleportation,
Yeah, he jumps out of one and then he pops out of the other.
which is
one,
really
like a
reminiscent
portal.
of Moonside Lake with Rom being like a portal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, that's I think exactly what is going on with them.
Mm.
Because like the way that Moonside Lake kind of quote unquote works is that like it's reflecting the moon. So like with the moonlight on the lake, you can kind of like if you imagine like the moon's reflected in the lake. So when you look down into the lake, there's another moon. So that's kind of what you're jumping into the reflection of the moon, which is treated as though it's its own moon. So like in Yahogul, there are those mirrors everywhere. And like, there's one specific mirror that you get to like at the very start, and there's a corpse in front of it, and the corpse has frenzied cold blood on it. And depending on how you play it, it's probably the first time you'll see frenzied cold blood. It's like up until that point, you find like thick cold blood, and it's like level 2 or 3. Then you find that one, and it's like frenzied cold blood 7 or 8, and it's directly in front of one of those mirrors. And it's like the only mirror in that area that's uncovered. So I think the idea is like the mirrors, the light of the moon is shining on them, and they're acting as almost like a gateway to the dreamlands, and that someone I guess like looked into the mirror when the moon was on it, and that like had some effect on them.
That would make sense. It's kind of like, because I was thinking of it like it's like scrying, like looking into another dimension.
Yeah, and that's probably why Yahogul gets so fucked up when the red moon happens, because it's just all of these mirrors reflecting the light of the red moon everywhere.
And they're like, shit, we gotta cover this bitch up.
Yeah, and it's just like bang, and just like there's just red moonlight everywhere, and everything's just destroyed.
Yeah, everything just gets totally eviscerated.
Yeah.
Just completely destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'm glad I'm thinking of the mirrors in the right way, because I was just like, it always like was like, well, there's mirrors everywhere, and then they're just like, and then somehow or another, Micolash is like, let's try and jump through a fucking mirror, and it works in the nightmare. But did it work? Like, did you just smack into some mirrors a couple of times and figure it out, or what? Like, like that's what I'm thinking about. Like, what part of your like.
It's like Wile E. Coyote like painting like a tunnel entrance on a cliffside and just running into it.
Yeah, it's like that, but then like the Roadrunner can run right through it. Yeah, exactly. It's like you try and run right in. You, the hunter, just run directly into that mirror. You're not gonna get there.
Micolash is the Roadrunner.
Micolash is the Roadrunner. Wow, confirmed. Miyazaki confirmed. The Bite is just an episode of IRL. That's really silly. I'm just thinking about it all. I'm just like, let's just make this an actual. Let's put the Roadrunner with a giant Menses cage on its head.
Oh my god, Bean!
Yes,
you're an artist. You can make this happen.
We'll make this happen. It's gonna be. I'll just submit it to you, and you can make it into a sticker.
We could have a whole collection and a line, a series of video games.
Oh my god, I could make some really dumb things. The power that you have as an artist is the abilities that you have. Just, oh yeah, you can make this thing an actual thing. Oh god. Oh yeah, I wanted to bring this up because I was reading my notes. Did you notice that the hood on the student set, with the cape, the hood isn't attached? It's not actually attached.
Like on the model.
Yeah. It's like really stupid. Like my friend Amy, who literally studied the robes perfectly, like she made hers. The ones she's made for her Micolash are amazing. She even has like the detailing that's in like the hood, like how it has that pattern in the inside of it.
Whoa,
it's beautiful. She's got the detailing down. It's like green on the inside, which is perfect. It's like exactly what you need. Anyway. She was like, did you know that the hood isn't attached? And I was like, no! And she's like, it's so stupid. Do you know how hard it was to figure out how to attach this thing to make it work? So that's a thing. That's a thing with the robes. Which I think that the robes are interesting because it's just like, hey, Micolash has been wearing the same clothes for 50 years. This idiot needs a fucking bath. Just like, wow, do you know that you could wear something else? did you know that? Is that an option for you?
Do you think he's just like really pretentious about the fact he went to Bergenworth?
Maybe. I think he just like I think he's just a gross nerd that doesn't know how to change his clothes, but that's just he doesn't know how that works. I don't think he has time to think about that. I think he has he doesn't have time to think about like how stupid he looks at all. And I'm just like, this is great. That's the life I want to live.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever watch The Office? You know Andy from The Office who always brags about being from Cornell?
Yeah. It's like that. He's like, I went to Bergenworth. Yeah, so did you and a bunch of other fucking people. God. It's weird because the other Mensis scholar that you see, which is Damien, wears the same thing.
Yeah, it's just like the same. Exactly the same, just a different person.
Yeah, and then Edgar wears the capeless version.
Yeah.
And it's just like, did they just steal a bunch of uniforms from Bergenworth?
Yeah, no, I think that's literally what happened, because in Bergenworth, if you, like, get Yuri's attention and then hide from her, she goes to the chest where the uniform is. Like, she stands there.
Oh, okay. Do you think that they were trying to have another...
Yeah, I think they're trying to infiltrate.
Yeah, they're doing another... Yeah, they're trying to put Yuri in there as well as Edgar, because Edgar's in the Nightmare.
Yeah, because Mensis and the Choir are, like, trying to kill each other throughout the game.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah.
It's great. I love that. I love their little, like...
Yeah.
I love that. I'm just like, yes, please. Like, good. Y'all just go kill each other. This is great. Because you find the choir member in your heart goal that has the Upper Cathedral word key.
You get the impression that, like, the choir don't really know what the fuck is going on with Mensis, but Mensis know more than the choir do.
Mm-hmm.
Because you get the impression that, like, the choir are just, like, they're a faction within the Healing Church. They have their own role and their own place they hang out. Whereas Mensis are more like a kind of secret society within the Healing Church who possibly have, like, members all throughout the church's ranks.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the impression I got.
That makes a lot more sense than what I was thinking, because there was... I forget what it was. Because I know that Mensis was formed prior to the choir being formed, or it's implied that it was. The choir wasn't always there.
The way the choir is explained is like the choir was formed maybe like 20 or 25 years ago, because the church, like, probably like soon after Lawrence disappeared, they got a bunch of orphans together and were like, we'll like put these orphans through this like child prodigy course and try to create like the next generation of like great minds to sort of lead us. So like the choir that you run into, they were orphans when the Healing Church was set up. So they're like significantly younger than everyone else. Whereas like Micolash is like, he's the character model data lists him as being just like mature, which I think the game considers like 40-ish.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got.
Yeah, so like if you imagine like he came from Bergenworth with Lawrence, like if he would have been like, if he was in his 20s at the time he leaves Bergenworth with Lawrence, that was 20 years ago. So he's now in his 40s and the choir are now adults.
Yeah, that's what I got.
Yeah.
I mean, his face data also kind of shows that. I have a face data Micolash hunter that I've looked at on many occasions. He's a mess. He's a disaster. Put him in hats and you get a little scared. His face data is... If you put him in a hat that's not a Mensis cage, he looks pretty scary.
Yeah.
He's pretty frightening looking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He looks kind of like in The Simpsons when Lenny gets plastic surgery.
Yes! Yes, he does! Oh my god! Oh my god. Okay. Yep, that's a time. I was gonna say something and I can't remember what I was gonna say. Well, I guess there it goes.
You've got something about the Mensis cage, like, does it do anything?
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
I'm using my notes, but I'm also like getting like excited about other things, so
that's how we always do it.
Yeah.
I can tell you like what I think the base, like the design basis of that is.
Oh.
Because Bloodborne draws really heavily from Bram Stoker's Dracula, as in the film that's called Bram Stoker's Dracula, not the actual Dracula book.
I love that movie.
Yeah. The guards in the asylum, they have cages on their heads.
They do.
And yeah, the implication is like that's because the patients are dangerous and they'll like attack them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the idea is like that might have been where the imagery came from. The idea of like there's these sort of madman with a cage on his head is derived from this.
Now I have to rewatch this movie. It's actually really funny that you bring it up that it pulls a lot of inspiration from it, because I'm a one-track mind individual, and I had rewatched that film right before I got into Bloodborne. I was like really hyper into Bram Stoker's Dracula, that movie. Yeah. And then like I started playing Bloodborne and I was like, this is perfect. This is a great segue. Yeah. And now I understand.
Yeah, and like it draws so heavily from that, like the Thumerian look is based on how Gary Oldman looks as Dracula.
Oh my god, you're right.
Queen Yharnam just looks straight up exactly like Lucy looks in that.
Oh god, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Wow. That's amazing. Now I have to rewatch it and get really into it again. It's one of my favorite movies. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I love that. Sorry, now I'm all excited now. Okay.
No, keep going. This is what you're here for.
Oh, good. Just to get excited and just be like, ah! It's quite fun to be a part of this, because sometimes I'm just like listening. I'll be like, I'll sit here and I'll be listening to Richard and I'll just be like, am I listening to a podcast or am I on the podcast? Oh, I'm on the podcast. Let me disassociate for like half a second to forget where I am. So I think that I was thinking about the choir because of and then of course the uniforms and stuff, and just how that is functioning and how old those uniforms have to be. Just think about how gross they are. It's like thinking about how bad Yharnam smells. It's like you just don't want to do that. But here we are. And the uniforms are just so gross. I've looked at it so much and I'm just like, wow, these are absolutely disgusting. Like, to actually get it to be, you have to weather that thing if you're doing the cosplay like properly. Weather that thing, like stain it, tea stain, coffee stain, best way to do it, and flour to get some of the. It's actually you like rub coffee grounds into stuff and like rub flour into stuff to get the weathered look. Or you could also do what I did once and attach something to the back of my car and then go down a gravel driveway. Which is something I did in college with a friend of mine who was cosplaying something that needed to be weathered. And we just snuck it out the back of the car.
Do you think it would be profitable to open like a laundromat business in the Nightmare of Menses?
Yes. That reminds me, I accidentally called somebody was calling Gascoigne the coin, and I just instinctively called him a laundromat. And now that's what's happening now. Gascoigne is now a laundromat, and
that's fair enough.
Yeah, it's like that's not what I meant to say at all. But here we are, and that's what. It's funny that you bring up laundromat, because I literally just said that. I literally just said that a couple days ago. That and diners, drive-ins, and Gascoigne. Which is what I said on a stream. Or no, that's not what I said. That's what Amy said. That happened. So everything for Bloodborne for me now is just one big meme. I take it very seriously sometimes.
Well, memes are a serious business.
Absolutely serious business. 100% no funny business here, as I proceed to talk about how much I love this idiot with a cage on his head. Did you have questions for this podcast, Sinclair? I know that you sometimes ask on your server.
Oh, that's true. I sometimes also forget.
Well, I figured I'd remind you.
That's true. Yeah.
Because I did. Well, what happened is we actually have questions for Menses, and I guess we talked about this on a podcast that's now deleted, thanks to Richard. But
that was you. You're the one who lost the Menses audio. I lost the completely incomprehensible the policy audio.
Oh, never mind. It's on the Vile Bloods podcast. Never mind. I'm confused. Forget it. I'll cut that out. But basically, we were supposed to do a Menses podcast. Yeah, and I made a whole bunch of questions that I worked really hard on.
Yeah. Then what happened?
I don't know, because they're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. So let's see. So that's it's a good thing you remind me.
Yes, that's what I'm here for. Sort of. I'm good at remembering stuff sometimes.
That is perfect. Okay, so where did I ask that?
So I have this is really random, but I have this really cool shirt, and it's like I don't know how you describe this art. It's like almost like pixel art, but it's not. But it's Abyss Watchers, and I just love my boys.
Oh, cool.
And I'm just looking at it because I'm wearing it.
Okay, so we have a question from the Peas and Corn, and it says, how is Micolash able to elevate his being into the nightmare but complain about forgetting everything as if it's like our character at Endgame?
I mean, he complains about forgetting everything. I think because Richard brought it up before that.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
It seems like he's done it before and that he's been there before.
You get the impression that he's come and gone from the nightmare a lot of times, but like it's a routine for him at this point.
It's just like remembering dreams. Like you can completely understand what's going on in your dreams as they're happening, but when you wake up, you only remember tidbits.
Yeah, the doll says something similar, like you will like she says like the dream will be a distant memory one day, and Gurman says like you will die and forget the dream.
Yeah, and then Eileen and other hunters.
Eileen remembers the doll, but we don't know how much else, because she says like if you aggro Eileen and kill her at the start of, and if you aggro Eileen at the start of the game and she kills you, she says like tell the little doll I said hello. So she's been to the dream and she's seen the doll and she remembers that much, but however much else is remembered, we don't know.
Okay, thank you. Princess Big Head Marionette is asking, is the One Reborn an attempt to appease Cos by creating a new body for her in addition to offering up Murgo to lure her in?
I think we kind of like answered that. Like around sorry, the cat just crawled on me. Around kitty. Around Mensis, you find the cramped casket things that are like, the idea is like this is just a coffin, and then the Thumerians ringing the bells brought the shit in the coffin to life, and it's just like a pile of body parts dragging itself around. And the One Reborn is just a big version of that. Like it's just like all the people who died in the ritual, like their body parts just fused together because the bell ringing women are summoning something.
Yeah, and in the chalices, aren't there coffinless variants of the?
Yeah, you sometimes very, very rarely run into a cramped casket without a casket.
I think I found those, and they are more reminiscent to the One Reborn.
Yeah. And also like around Yahagul, there are those. It's just the werewolf monster, but with like body part textures all over it. It's the same AI and everything. So the implication is like, yeah, there's just random body parts are coming to life in this place, and the One Reborn is the big one.
Thanks, bell ringing women. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Red Aviary says, Micolash is mummified in the real world, but didn't the ritual take place just that night?
I guess we kind of covered that too, because like Micolash going into the nightmare and then the ritual happening are like two different things. Yeah, Micolash can go into the nightmare without the ritual, but they need the ritual to complete what Micolash is doing, basically. This was confusing because like when the game came out, people assumed like the whole Menses thing had happened on that night. And they were like, oh, well, I guess like time flows differently in the dream.
Time is convoluted.
So for Micolash, yeah, I think the problem is this game came out around the same time as Inception.
Oh god, it did.
And like Inception makes a big point about how like in when you're dreaming, things subjectively take longer than they do when you're not dreaming. So people were like, oh, I guess like Micolash has been in the dream for like, from his point of view, he may have been there for like years, but he's really only been there a couple of hours.
Just for the record, Inception came out like 5 years before Bloodborne.
That's around the same time.
Close enough. People were still talking about Inception. People still talk about Inception.
Inception. When did Inception come out?
Inception came out in 2010.
2010. Okay, 2010. So,
wait, did you just double check me?
You said about 5 years, and I wanted to check.
Yeah,
like,
about 5 years, meaning maybe 4 years
but you
and a few months.
You didn't say Inception came out in September. You didn't say September came out in Inception came out in September 2010, and I double-checked that. You said
September
about 5 years,
2010,
so I was
and
just
Bloodborne
checking.
came out March 2015, about 5
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Bean, do you see what I have to deal with?
You see what I have to deal with?
I do. It's okay. Oh, come on, Richard, you like it.
No, Richard's like cries over every podcast.
Oh, of course.
It's 3 a.m.
Oh, God.
But the true reason Richard is sad is because he can't get on my level.
I'm so sorry it's 3 a.m. I forget what time it is.
That's all right.
Time zones are weird.
Yeah.
I have Montreal time on my phone right now because I don't trust Sinclair to tell me like an accurate time when I'm supposed to talk to her.
Oh, it is 3 a.m.
So I just wait for her to.
It only happened a couple of times. Oh my gosh.
So it's 1:05 p.m. where you are right now.
Yes.
Yeah. So now I just get her to tell me like what time I'm supposed to meet her on her time, and then I just figure it out myself.
Oh yeah, that's what I should have done. I think we had a discussion about that because I was just like, yeah, no, I'm 2 hours behind, and
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
we were like discussing it. It was just like, no, that's like 2 p.m. your time. We're not doing it at like 5 o'clock, or what would that be? That would be like six. No. Whatever. It'd be something ridiculous for you, Richard, and we didn't want to do that.
You see how considerate we are, Richie?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
I also have Sydney on mine, so here we go. I forgot why I did
I'm
that.
in the same time zone as Sydney.
Yes, I have my world clock set up for that. I don't know why I have Stockholm on here. What is that? Get off. There we go.
Did we answer Red Aviary's question?
Was that the one about how long Micolash has been mummified for? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you have to assume like Micolash went into the nightmare like a really long time ago.
Okay.
And the ritual in Yahagul is like, that's part of what has to happen to finish summoning Cos. And also, he can't leave until that ritual's done.
Okay.
So it's like gating off access to the nightmare, basically.
Okay. Princess Beef is asking, is there any reason for the creepy skull face rocks everywhere?
Why not?
Yeah, because it's the nightmare.
It's supposed to be spoopy.
Okay, the thing is, like, you used to only find them in places where people had frenzied.
Mm.
So I used to think, like, are they something to do with frenzy? But then the Hunter's Nightmare just has them everywhere. They're just like sticking out of the ground. So I don't know anymore. You find a ton of them like in the line of sight of the brain.
Mm.
That's where most of them are.
Do you think?
So it's like,
I was gonna say, do you think they're reminiscent of like the people that are stuck in the walls in Yargul?
Yeah. I think it's like the way that like blood petrifies and turns to rock in this game. That like maybe it's blood that frenzied and turned into these things, or even that like because it's the Dreamlands, maybe like the act of frenzying like sort of warps the world around you, and that's why these skulls start appearing.
Mm.
Cool. Thank you. Bry asks, the nightmare/dream is a quasi-physical place, right? Is it like ascending to a higher dimension or more like a parallel universe?
I think it's like a parallel universe. That's a better way of looking at it.
What do you think, Bean?
I think looking at it as a parallel universe is definitely a better idea because of how there are structures that are there that are reminiscent of a past time, like Lauren, like we were talking about.
Yeah.
That being like very much like Lauren and having structures there that are like that. And then of course the Hunter's Dream is the biggest one because it's literally the Hunter's Workshop. And it's just a parallel version of it.
Yeah. And like the Hunter's Nightmare is just bits and pieces of Yharnam, like kind of stuck together.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And Brie also asks, how does time pass in the nightmare/dream?
Oh God.
Does it pass at all? is the question.
Ooh.
It doesn't.
Because, like, when you go to the Hunter's Nightmare, like, the further you move into that, the further back in time you're going. Like, you're seeing events that have already happened. So I think it's like there is no time flow there. It's just like a record of things that have happened sort of in this eternal present for them.
And that also begs the question about how the chalices work.
Yeah. Because the chalices are definitely, like, they make absolutely no sense unless you assume time travel.
Yes, because of Yarnum. And as you keep going down.
Because of Yarnum and Rom and...
Yeah, all that stuff. And Abritus down there and stuff.
Yeah. I think, like, we talked about this on another podcast, but, like, one of the big influences on Bloodborne is Uzumaki, the Junji Ito manga. And, like, that has an ending where they go underneath the town and there is a labyrinth under the town. And they very specifically say that, like, the closer we get to the middle of the labyrinth, the slower time is moving. And then when we get to the very center of the labyrinth, there will be no time anymore, and everything is just held in the present. So I think that's kind of what the chalices are doing, that, like, the deeper down you go, the, like, things just aren't progressing anymore. You're just going deeper into the past, and there's no flow of time forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when we had Loki on to discuss Dark Souls translations, and he was saying, like, time is convoluted has become this, like, meme phrase.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, a better translation of that phrase is, like, time is stagnant. It's not like time is confused. It's like time has just stopped, and, like, time has stopped flowing forwards and backwards, and it's just, like, you're just there. And that's, like... people from the past and the present can sort of, like, they're not phasing in and out like it's Doctor Who or something. They just, like because time's not flowing, they're just there because nothing is progressing and nothing is moving.
Cool. Thank you. Bray also asks, why is that choir guy there? Is he dead IRL too? Is he hollow? Why would he attack the player character?
One thing. Let me Let me start by saying I'm the biggest garbage trash fire shipper in my life, and I ship Micolash and Edgar. That is happening. Anyway, so it's obviously that it's his boyfriend. Just kidding.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wait,
Edgar is
but
just
did you make any art of it?
I have.
Nice.
Is it safe to use on YouTube?
I don't have them anymore. I gave them to Amy.
Oh, okay.
I gave them to Amy. But it's a theory that I was like, it's a garbage ship theory, but it's just more like Edgar attacks you on the bridge because he obviously he's attacking you because all the choir members attack you. But I was just like joking with Amy. I was just like, Edgar attacks you on the bridge because he's protecting Micolash, and Micolash is obviously his boyfriend. Aww. So there you go.
A mystery solved.
Mystery solved. But other than that, I really actually genuinely don't know why. I mean, other than Edgar infiltrating Mensis, and just...
That's all you're really given.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have a whole podcast on Edgar, one of our best work.
Well, no, we don't. We have, like, half a podcast on Edgar, and the rest is me reading werewolf porn that I bought on Kindle.
Amazing.
It's one of the classic episodes, so, Bri, check it out, but I'm sure you already have. Okay. Why are the weed-like plants growing in the nightmare?
Because 420 blazing. And if you don't think that Micolash doesn't celebrate 420, you're completely wrong.
What do all the creepy things in the nightmare eat?
I don't know. Why would they eat anything if time doesn't progress?
I think this is a good opportunity to start, like, a little, what do you call it? Like, Richie, what am I thinking? I have it in my head. It's like a thing with snacks, but it's also like a trailer.
No, a thing with snacks, but trailers?
It's a trailer and it's filled with snacks, and you sell snacks to people from the trailer.
Oh, like a concession stand?
Yeah. So we'll have a laundromat and that.
Yeah, we need to sell snacks to the creatures in the nightmare.
Yeah.
Make sure that they are well fed and have tasty snacks.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Awesome. I hope that answered all your questions.
I hope that answered everything that you needed answered.
I think by now Richie just left. It's like, no, I'm not associated with this.
No, do you know why? I've got my window open because of the cat, and there was a guy outside in the street just screaming, pacing under it, screaming like, "You're all gonna fucking burn."
Is he a Yarnamite?
Yeah.
It was a bit like the night of the hunt, and I don't know what was happening, and I just
no.
like went quiet and like muted the speakers because I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I just heard him like get quieter as he walked up the street. So I don't know. But like that's why I was quiet for like 2 minutes, because I'm like, what the I hope this guy like I had this momentary panic of like, what if he's hearing me talking? And like he's gonna come up to the window and like try to get in or something.
Is the window big enough for somebody to crawl in?
No, but like it's propped open, so he could just put his hand under and open it.
Oh God.
We need to get you a more secure window. We need to start like a fundraiser.
Patreon goal.
That was like, I felt like I was in a stealth game, and I'm like trying not to attract attention because like the light's on, and it's like the only house in the street with the light on.
Oh.
So there's like the light on in this room and this open window, and he can hear, and like I'm talking, and there's this guy outside just screaming.
Oh, Jesus.
And like, but not screaming at anyone. He's just like pacing around yelling.
Oh God.
And it's like, if he sees the light and hears me, he's going to come over here.
That sounds like New York. I don't know. I know you don't live in New York, but that sounds like New York. There's a lot of that.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, because like I used to live in Melbourne, which is like pretty densely populated.
Mm-hmm.
And like I never felt vulnerable there because there's so many people. But like here, like I'm often the only person out like at night. So if there's like any rando fuck out there, they're just going to latch onto me.
Oh God.
And I've had so many people like threaten me and like try to like run past me in cars and shit because I'm like the only person out
Oh
there.
my God.
Why are you out there in the middle of the night?
Well, not anymore. But like I used to go out when I was doing the dissertation. I used to have to, because I'd like work all night.
Oh, right.
And then like there was one place a couple of blocks away that was open 24 hours where I'd go to get coffee at like 2 a.m. And I was like the only person out. So you just like any random like drunk guy or like just guys looking to like attack someone would just latch onto me.
Oh God. Jeez, Richard, you gotta stay safe.
Yeah, we need you for the lore.
No, not just the lore, Sin.
Bean, how much do windows cost these days?
Windows? Why are you asking me about windows? I don't know. I live in an apartment.
I'm just going to go and shut the window in case he comes back.
Oh no.
Okay.
Replacing a window costs an average of $300 to $700.
That's not so bad.
Okay, so let's do a $500 patron goal, and we'll call it Richie's window. Get Richie a new window. Yeah.
Get Richie a new window so a man shouting doesn't
so
open
strange
his window.
people, strange people don't crawl into his place.
This sounds like, I'm so glad. Wow, this is great.
Richie? Is this Richie or is this some imposter? No.
This is me.
This is you?
Good.
We have a new patron goal now.
What?
It's getting you a window.
When I did live in an apartment in Melbourne, it was like a donut shop on the corner. And not every night, but some nights, this old woman would stand outside and like say that everyone who went in there was going to go to hell for gluttony because there's no reason to eat donuts.
But they're tasty.
Yeah, but she's like, no, it's like you shouldn't be eating donuts. Like she was serious. She was like, it's not necessary food, so you're going to go to hell for gluttony for it. And she would like,
Nice.
She would give you the exact number of years you would be in hell for.
Nice.
Oh.
I'd love to know.
Yeah, she'd be like, 5 years in hell for gluttony for that, 7 years for that.
Wow. I'm so happy there's someone out there spreading that word around. God, I'd love to know how long I'm going to be in hell.
Oh god, I wouldn't, considering the amount of donuts I've eaten.
From what I gather, like a plain donut is 5 years, but then as you start adding like sprinkles and like icing and cream, it goes up a little.
Oh god, I can't. I'm going to start thinking about that now. Every time somebody brings donuts into the office, I'm just going to be like, how many years in hell am I going to spend for eating this donut?
But do you offset your years in hell if you like eat something healthy afterwards?
I never really engaged her in discussion about it.
If you see her, ask her. Who would like to know?
Yeah, well, if I'm ever back in the city, like, if I'm ever wandering around at 2 a.m. again.
Walk up to her with a donut and ask her how long you're going to be in hell for this donut. This particular.
Oh, actually, I think the donut shop's gone now because I
Aw.
went there like a couple of weeks ago and they've like redeveloped the area.
Oh my god, was it sucked into the nightmare for selling donuts?
It's possible. It's possible.
I think she's there too.
Yeah.
She's like a bell maiden.
She's the boss. She's the boss of the area.
She could be a possible witch of Hamwick.
Oh yeah, there we go. Is she covered in eyes?
No, she covered in donuts.
Right. And the thing is, right next to the donut shop, there was this like vegan, like it was called Lord of the Fries. And it was like a vegan fries shop that sold like healthy French fries.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they may have secretly liked that she was there because it was encouraging people to go to other places. Because she wasn't condemning people for buying stuff from Lord of the Fries.
No, what if she was an agent from the fries place? She was like their Edgar.
Ooh.
It's possible. There was a man who dressed as a one-eyed hamburger monster who used to run around handing out. He used to run around handing out flyers for a shop.
Monster.
Yeah, it was a shop called Burger Monster, and their like mascot was a Cyclops hamburger.
Oh my god.
And he'd run around giving people flyers to go to Burger Monster, and I only ever went there once, and they don't exist anymore.
Wait, Bergen Monster or Bergenwerther?
Oh, well,
yeah.
there you go. Oh, there's so many connections.
Mm-hmm, it's all coming together. Okay, thank you for that. The next question is by Regis.
So there's my brush with death over.
Oh good, yeah. Yeah, now that Richard's not in peril.
The thing is, like, this area, like, there was a meth lab across the street for a while.
Oh, good.
And there's, like, a house on the corner that's just, like, there's all these smashed up cars in the front yard, and they're always stealing shit, and the cops are always there. So, like, there's always the potential of, like, someone's gonna get knifed outside tonight.
Honestly, that kind of sounds like where I live, but it's not that bad. Like, I mean, I live in Aurora, which is pretty it's pretty shit, but you know, I don't know if it's that shit.
So I should be like afraid for y'all's safety at all times.
Nah, I'm good. I promise.
Okay, good. So the next question is by Regis. Is the Nightmare of Menses a temporary thing with a purpose, like the Hunter's Dream, or was it always there?
I don't think the Hunter's Dream's temporary, though. I think that's always going to be there.
I think the question is more that the Hunter's Dream was created after they beckon the moon presence. I think that's what the Regis is trying to get at, but I think that the Nightmare of Menses might have already been there before because of the structures of the buildings and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's like the Hunter's Nightmare is to Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
Where like something went down with the Great Ones in Lauren, and then like that ends up like whatever thing they did wrong creates the nightmare version of Lauren. Because they make a big point in the story about like Lauren went through in the past what Yharnam is going through now, and everyone who studied Lauren thinks that like Yharnam is going to be the next place to go through this. Yeah. So like that'd be their the Nightmare Frontier and the Nightmare of Menses together would be Lauren's equivalent of the Hunter's Nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way, like with the Hunter's Nightmare, you start on the River of Blood, and then you climb up, and there's like other buildings there and other areas.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Princess of War asks, was the brain in the nightmare already, or was it brought and held there? Does it ensure the continued existence on the nightmare? Why can't it just leave? Well, it has no legs.
I think we covered that as it does have legs.
It does.
What?
Yeah.
If you look at it, it's got arms and legs. It just like there's no skeleton. It's just like tendons blob. And like veins. Yeah. It has hands. It looks like if you like ripped an amygdala's like muscles and nerves and like blood out without a skeleton. It would look like it's got the same hand structure, and like the head is similar to an amygdala head, but it's like sort of leaking out.
It's like a real shitty attempt at making an amygdala.
Yeah, that's basically what, in the same way that like ROM is like a shitty attempt at making something else.
Mm-hmm.
Would we ask the brain of Menses to join our Blitz sports team?
No.
Well, you can make contact with it.
Maybe it's going to be like a coach or an advisor.
Maybe. It seems like I don't know. I think that giant, you got a better bet with that church giant.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's our ticket to the championships.
What about Ludwig?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think that would be good.
Can Ludwig even swim though? Because you have to be underwater.
Can the brain of Menses even swim though?
I imagine the brain of Menses could float like a jellyfish.
Oh. Ooh, that might be better for it. It seems like it's in it's having a lot of issues. It probably needs to have some some water therapy there.
Ludwig's got a lot of arms, so he'd probably be good at sport because he could like grab in different places. He'd be a good goalie.
No, Richard, it depends which Ludwig, because the first phase Ludwig, he's very disorganized. He doesn't know what he's doing. The second phase Ludwig would be okay.
Yeah.
So you have to just give him his Moonlight Greatsword and he'll be fine.
Amygdala would be really good. Because it's got like 7 arms.
Amygdala would be a baller at playing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the Cleric Beast would do a pretty good job.
Can this be its own podcast later on that's just like Bloodborne?
Yeah.
Like fantasy sports league. Who would play what position?
Yes! Oh my god! We need to do that! Oh my god, that'd be so funny. You need to make like a little draft for it.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're just gonna do fantasy sports with Bloodborne bosses and random characters.
Yeah.
Just fantasy football. Do a bracket.
So, the next question is... Princess Beef is asking, also, WTF are those dog, bird, and bird dog things?
I mean, that's one of the things that I was thinking about that really seemed to have come from Micolash himself. It seems like some kind of fucked up shit he'd do.
You know where he got the idea for those?
Where did he get the idea?
The Simpsons.
Yes, he watches The Simpsons.
Remember that episode when Bart's evil twin sewed together a rat and a pigeon?
Oh, the pigeon rat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
Okay.
Now that I've wasted time, you explain things, Richard.
Here.
So, I think, like, they're probably just conjured up out of nothingness. Because one of the first things, they're like the Winter Lanterns, I guess, where, like, Winter Lanterns seem to be something that's born out of what Maria did. That, like, they're like her guilty conscience takes a form in the nightmare. So I think, like, the dog birds and bird dogs and spider pigs are probably the same thing.
Oh yeah, the spider pigs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the spider pigs.
Is that also a pig from The Simpsons, the movie, when Homer gets a pig and he's like, Spider Pig, Spider Pig, does whatever a Spider Pig does.
The only joke anyone remembers from that film.
That fucking movie. I saw that in theaters. I don't know why.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw it in theaters too, and like no one remembers anything except Spider-Pig.
I don't remember even what the movie was about.
It's like 4 times longer than an episode of The Simpsons normally is, but it has one memorable joke.
It's not even that a good joke.
No, it's just like this completely random thing of like Spider-Pig.
Yep.
They brought Spider-Pig back in the series.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I don't watch it anymore, I just heard someone complaining about it. It's like it's gotten so bad they've brought back Spider-Pig from the movie.
God, how far the Simpsons have fallen.
Yeah.
God.
What were we talking about?
Good question. We were answering questions. I think we were talking about the dog, crow, bird things. Yeah.
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 Did we answer that?
I think.
Kind of.
I mean, you can't really answer that.
We've answered it as well as it's ever going to be answered.
But you know, what do you call that thing? I forgot what it's called. Richie, what am I thinking?
Oh, that.
Yeah.
The policy?
No. No, but you know, oh my god. Like in old medical books.
The
The thing.
Oh.
The thing.
Or was it in a novel? I'm just having a complete I only had 1 cup of coffee today. It wasn't something. And it has a name.
It was a something and it has a name.
Yes.
Like, oh god.
It's in a book.
I don't even know what I'm talking about. I just have this abstract idea, and it's
Right.
like when you it has a name when you like sew 2 animals together.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Chimera.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, that's the alchemist term for it, isn't it? Or, yeah. No.
Well, a chimera is just a general term meaning like things like composite animal.
Yeah.
It's like a medical thing.
Is it like, I always think like Frankenstein, but that's just me.
Yeah.
I'm crazy.
It's okay.
No, I know the kind of thing you mean. Because, like, people thought the platypus was fake. When that was first discovered, they thought they've just sewn a bunch of animals together to make this thing, but it was real. There's a specific kind called a Jenny Hanover. Like, and the Fiji Mermaid is another one.
Yeah. The Fiji Mermaid was a big one.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Fiji Mermaid and it just says, like, it's an object comprising the torso of a monkey and the back half of a fish. But it doesn't seem to have a name.
Or like a term for the, yeah.
Yeah, it's just referred to as, like, a taxidermy hoax thing.
Yeah. But the thing about the taxidermy hoax is, like, it has to be, like, taxidermied. So it's kind of interesting that, like, there's, like, in terms of, like, things, like, in terms of, like, the crow dogs and stuff. Like,
yeah, because they're alive.
They're alive. But, like, what if, like, that's some kind of weird shit that Micolash was into? Like, I don't fucking know. Sewing some weird taxidermy animals together. It seems like something he'd do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why not? I'm gonna blame it on Micolash, which is what I typically do. This is your fault!
So the next question is by Azrael, and he's asking, how is the nightmare made, and why the name Menses?
Well, like, we've established the nightmare's probably leftover bits of Lauren.
Mm.
So that's where it comes from. And, like, it's called the Nightmare of Menses because Menses find it.
Yeah, that's...
Like, in their experiments, they, like, project themselves, and that's where they end up. So they just, like, this is our nightmare now.
This is ours now. We're gonna name it.
Yeah. The thing is, like, the way it's like the way that, like, possessives are done in Japanese. Like, you could also call it, like, Mensis's nightmare, as opposed to Nightmare of Menses. Yeah. Do you want to talk about, like, the name Mensis?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, yeah, the name Mensis, like, it's from the root, like, menses, which is, like, to do with menstruation, to do with the
Moon cycles, yeah.
Yeah, so it fits in with what's going on.
Moon cycles
in the
and
story.
blood and that stuff.
Yeah, and childbirth and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which actually fits because of, Yarnum's there, or her projection's
Yeah,
there,
exactly,
so
yeah.
it's, like, perfect to
Yeah.
have it be that name.
Yeah.
Even if, like, the school of Mensis is already a thing, Mensis is still being used in it. It could be used in the other term, the other meaning.
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing I was thinking of earlier was parabiosis.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, it was bothering me, but I wasn't crazy.
Parabiosis, the anatomical joining of two individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's used on research on lab rats where they'll sew two rats together and see how the body of one affects the other.
Okay. That's genuinely that could definitely fit into the crow dog thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, from what I can tell, it's used to study the effects of aging, where they'll sew an older mouse to a younger mouse. And then so they're sort of sharing the same organs and the same blood and stuff, and they'll watch how the aging process affects them differently because they're sort of the old one is exchanging cells with the younger one.
Mm-hmm.
Nice going, Sin.
Yeah, get there.
Bravo.
Yes.
Do you see how little encouragement I get from Richie for all the incredible finds I find?
I mean, I don't know. It seems like you get some positive feedback.
He's the true bully of the podcast.
Oh my god.
So the answer is we don't know how the nightmare is constructed, but Richie, you were about to talk about the name Menses?
We did.
You did? Oh, yeah, I wasn't listening. I was trying to Google the thought that I had.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
That's okay.
You're fine. It's fine.
Okay. Let me see.
We can talk about...
Richie? Wait.
Okay.
I'm looking through the questions to see. I think we answered. Did we talk about the wet nurse?
Not a lot.
Okay.
No, not at all. Actually.
Okay. So Maeglin Amandel asks, "What is Menses' relationship with the wet nurse? Is she allied with them? Does she do Micolash's bidding, or is it the other way around?"
Wet nurse has always confused me because she seems like she doesn't really fit.
Yeah.
So it's I don't really know. I know that her obvious role is a wet nurse, but we don't really know where she. I don't know where she comes from. I mean, she doesn't. She's invisible. She's not invisible, but she doesn't have a face. So you don't know if she's the Marion or what.
She looks like the shadows of Yharnam, but bigger.
Yeah, she does, and she's got all these ornate things, and she's got these swords, and she's like a bird. It's kind of strange.
I think the idea is that they have when we say they have Murgo, we mean they have Murgo's third cord. It's Murgo's dead, but they have this part of his body.
Mm-hmm.
They bring that to the nightmare, and they use that to get in contact with a great one. The great one that ends up getting in contact with them, it's not Cos. It's the wet nurse. And that lands and that sort of takes over where Murgo is, and that grabs onto Murgo and won't let him go. Because the thing is, prior to the DLC, you could say the wet nurse was Cos. Because Micolash is beckoning something called Cos, and there's something there. But I think you have to assume there's just another great one took the bait instead of Cos. And that's why the ritual has stalled, because Cos can't come get Murgo. Cos won't be beckoned because the wet nurse has Murgo.
Mm-hmm. Bean, do you have any thoughts on that?
On the wet nurse, wet nurse is just like I said. I think that I don't know. I'm trying to think about her because I really haven't fought wet nurse as often
Yeah.
as I think
Mhm.
that I have. Because I was reading about something about how she's just like, seems like a conglomerate of a bunch of different
Yeah.
things. And then they were like, well, we need another boss.
Like, she feels like what she is, which is they were going to have a different ending and they couldn't do it. So they recycled the boss from somewhere else.
Yeah, because she really does not fit there at all.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense that, like, well, you know, you kill Micolash and then you see Yarnum and then you kill the wet nurse and Yarnum bows to you. What is going on with the dynamic between, like, what is the wet nurse actually doing and what is Murgo doing? And
Well, like, the wet nurse has Murgo, we know
yeah,
that.
we know that she does, but it seems like she's supposed to be. Is she like is she like there waiting for? I think you said this earlier, but I may not have been paying attention. Waiting for Cause to get there, and that's why Yarnum is like not here for that.
I don't think she's waiting for Cause. I think she's just grabbed onto him.
Okay.
But, like, it's confusing because they use wet nurse to describe the beast. Like, it's possible that it's something that, like, is. The problem is you find all these dead Menses members outside.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, Micolash is still calling to Cause, which gives the impression, like, this isn't exactly going as planned.
Yeah. Like, maybe wet nurse showed up and they were like, fuck.
Yeah. Because that's what the, like, brains are gifted with decay thing is referring to. Because it's like, Menses used the third core to get in contact with Murgo, but that somehow destroyed their brains. So, like, I guess witnessing the like the appearance of this great one like destroyed them somehow, which makes it seem like it's not on their side. But like, there's a theory that like Murgo creates the wet nurse as like a defense mechanism.
Yeah, I was reading about that too. I thought that was really interesting because Murgo doesn't have anything, and it seems like Murgo has quite a bit of control over the Dreamland, so he should be able, in theory, to create something that would protect him. Yeah,
but then that's weird because like Yarnum wants Murgo back. So if Murgo can create this thing, why doesn't Murgo just leave? Because like Yarnum's the implication is like Yarnum cannot get to Murgo because of the wet nurse.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes it seem weird that, like, is it if Murgo's created this thing, like, why that's happening? I think because, like, what happens is when you defeat the wet nurse, you don't get Nightmare slain until the crying stops.
Mm-hmm.
So people think that, like, by killing the wet nurse, you've also killed Murgo in some way.
Yeah, that's what also confused me. I just felt like maybe it was because Murgo really genuinely cannot. I mean, Murgo is a baby, like, all in all. So if there's nothing there to take care of him.
Yeah, and it's also weird because like Murgo is the source of Yarnum's power.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you encounter her in the chalices, like there's certain attacks she will do where the tell for the attack is she like rubs her pregnant stomach.
Yes.
And then you hear Murgo crying, and then this like sort of psychic shockwaves start emanating from her, and the implication is like that's Murgo doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be like, because the wet nurse does look like she's pregnant. She has like a distended abdomen.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the idea is like the wet nurse is hanging on to Murgo as like a source of power and won't let him go.
Oh, that's really interesting. And then, and then that would actually change the dynamic between Yarnum as well, with Yarnum and Murgo, if Murgo is that source.
Yeah.
That's different. And then it could be that. Or it could be the same way, but Murgo's created an image to protect him from being used as a source of power from even Yarnum herself.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting dynamic to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So for reference, like the wet nurse boss that we fight, that was probably going to be in when it was initially designed, like there would have been an old woman in Yosefka's clinic who fulfilled the role of Yosefka, and she just looks like a human version of the wet nurse.
Oh, is that where all her
and the wet?
Oh,
yeah, and the wet. She looks. If you imagine like a smaller like human, it's like this hunchbacked old woman, and she's wearing like the same like it's like a less ornate version of what the wet nurse is wearing, and the wet nurse is internally called like the dream demon. So we're thinking that like maybe like that woman would have become an optional boss and you would fight her in the Dreamlands as this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, yeah. So it's like the idea of like meeting an NPC and then the NPC becomes a boss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is what Micolash was going to be.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about like the incredibly convoluted history of Micolash as a character throughout the different revisions.
Oh, yeah, because there's like 3 different versions of Micolash.
I don't even know how many versions of Micolash there are.
There's a lot.
But,
There's a lot.
Yeah. So, like, based on what we have dug up, it looks like in the very first version of Bloodborne, you were trying to find your friend who was called Lawrence. And at this point, like, obviously Lawrence is not the head of the Healing Church. It looks like the head of the Healing Church at that point would have been a guy called Micolash, who was possibly the same kind of character. He may have looked the same. And he is like a friendly NPC. You can talk to him. And he says similar things to what Micolash says in the boss fight. He says like Cos, or some say Cosm, can you hear me? Like, and he's like calling to something, and then he will talk to you and he will say things like, you know, I'm trapped here and like I'm awake all the time, but I'm also dreaming, and like, yeah, he sort of babbles to you and he's like, I need you to look into my eyes and like remind me that like there are people here, and like he's in this sort of trance state.
Yeah.
And then as he's talking toward the end of one of the lines, he's like, I can see it, and then he's like screaming, like his voice suddenly shifts from, he sounds very timid initially, and then he just starts like howling and screaming like he does in the boss fight. And he's like, you know, I can see my nightmare, my beautiful nightmare, and he's like shouting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cut content audio I've definitely listened to, because I always remember how he was referring to Rom as the downside up fool in the cut content.
Yeah, yeah. And the other interesting thing is, like, people may have seen this because Lance McDonald showed it off, but in the cutscene where Lawrence leaves Bergenworth, you never see Lawrence, but there is a model there representing Lawrence, and that model is Micolash.
Oh!
Yeah. And there is, like, a really old draft of that, the subtitles for that scene that you can find in the files, and it's exactly the same dialogue, but instead of saying Lawrence, Willem is saying, fear it Ashton, or Ash. Like, he says it's either Ashton or Ash. And I get the impression that, like, he's saying Ash, and Ash is, like, a diminutive of Micolash. Like, Ash is, like, a short way of saying Micolash, so...
Oh, he's got a nickname now!
Yeah.
Oh, confirmed. Very cute.
Yeah, so I think, like, initially Micolash would have been head of a healing church. But it's also interesting because Micolash says, like, he says, I am the... It was never translated, but it's something like, I'm the current head of the healing church. Which implies that, like, there was a guy before him, and because the bloodletting beast, like, since the beginning has always, since that thing was created, it was meant to be the head of the healing church. So I think the idea is that, like, this Micolash character may have taken over the healing church after the previous head disappeared.
Yeah, that's cool shit.
Thank you. And, oh, wait, Richie, talk about the thing about the mud.
The mud.
Grand Lake of Mud.
Oh, yeah, right. This is actually in the cut content, so you may have read it. One of the weirdest lines Micolash has is, like, the Grand Lake of Mud is hidden now from sight.
Yep.
And people were like, what the fuck does this mean? And people were thinking, like, does it mean, like, there's a lot of mud around Bergenworth? Is he talking about that? But then if you look at, like, lines, like, the Japanese is closer to, like, we are in mud. Like, the mud is obscuring the Great Lake from our sight. It's like that. It's not like the lake of mud is hidden from sight. It's like the lake is hidden from sight by the mud. And that is literally what he says in the cut lines. It's like, the Great Lake is clouded by grime, which is a much closer translation. Yeah. And there's like a blood minister character who was removed, and he talks about, like, we're sunk too deeply in the mud and we're all going to be awoken. So it's using, like, mud and grime as, like, a metaphor for, like, we're not enlightened enough to see this thing because the our sight's obscured by this mud, so we're trying to get away from it.
Oh. So would that be like, do you think it's like a metaphor? You're trying to get away from it, so it's like obscuring the truth in many ways.
Yeah, he's talking because he's like he's saying like the mud is clouding the Great Lake, and then he's like the cosmos.
Right. The Great Lake is the Great Lake would be the cosmos. So
cosmos,
see.
So it's like
yes.
Like the sort of lack of enlightenment is this mud that's obscuring his vision. He's trying to break through it.
Right. Okay. And then that might kind of tie into the idea of ascension and being able to actually see everything for what it is.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Do you want me to quickly talk about where the name Micolash probably comes from?
Yes.
Go on.
Okay, so the giant Prague astronomical clock, which is the basis of the clock in the Grand Cathedral, the guy who designed that was called Micolash.
Oh.
So I'm pretty sure, like, when they were doing the research for the game, they ran across that name and thought it sounded cool. So they used it.
Oh, I love that. Oh.
Yeah. Do we have anything else to talk about on Micolash?
I mean, I could talk about Micolash for a long time, but I don't think it's going to have any, like, hold any water.
Oh, actually, Scarrow had a very important question about Menses.
Yeah?
Are y'all ready?
I'm ready for this extremely important question.
Okay. What is the connection between Menses and the horsefish rune?
Oh, shit.
Well, that depends on what gesture you perform in front of the Menses brain.
It's true.
If you perform the snack gesture in front of the Menses brain, you receive the horsefish rune.
Yes. Everyone should know this. It's common knowledge.
Yeah. And the description says this is a rune imparted to Ludwig after he killed Maria.
Yeah. Of course.
I like how Bean is 100% on board.
Come on, this is simple lore, everyone. Everyone should know that if you perform the Snack Covenant gesture, you're gonna get the horsefish rune from the brain of Menses. I don't know what you're gonna do from there, but you're gonna get it.
I can give you one more random piece of Menses trivia.
Yes.
Okay, you know, in Yaha Ghul, there are these statues that look like a pile of, like, weird body parts with a rag on the top.
Yeah.
Those were not originally designed as statues. Those are actually enemies that are cut from the game.
Oh.
And they made them into statues by there's no animation and just with a stone texture applied. And they would have loaded in, you know, those cages in Menses that are just hanging from the chains, nothing in them. They would have had those in them. And I think the idea is like they were like Menses scholars who had been like transformed into these like blob things, and they have like these rags, and they kind of like they move. They like these sort of tumors, but they have like kind of like limbs and things. They just sort of like wiggle, and like they're really gross looking.
Do you think they would have had those in replace of like the tiny attendants?
I don't know. They look like they would have just been in the cages that are now empty.
Oh, okay.
Like they would have had these like tumor sort of blobs in them that are sort of like squirming around.
I was always wondering about those cages because they always look like the elevator cages that are there.
Yeah.
So it just looks like a bunch of elevators.
I think that's maybe been what they were going with, like when Menses encountered the Great Ones, like it overloaded them.
Mm.
So like one plan may have been that like they just turned into these like masses of flesh instead of just dying.
I mean, we know that like that sort of knowledge can cause a transformation in many ways. Because we know that from the Celestials, we know that from the Brain Suckers,
Rom,
that stuff. So.
Yeah, and like and Micolash has a cut his set has cut like arm parts.
Oh, does it actually?
He doesn't use them in game, but they exist. It's like the manacles he has on. Like you can restore those and equip them, and like they exist, but they're just not used. His set is like the Menses cage, the student set, the student trousers, and the like handcuff things. Together, they're just referred to as Lord of the Nightmare set.
Oh,
but it kind of splits them up across different locations.
Oh, and in Japanese, Micolash is not called host of the nightmare.
Well, it's a word that's like, he's like Micolash, like the master of the nightmare or something. It's using host in the sense that like if someone comes to your house, you're the host.
Mhm.
But like, it was a weird choice of words because it makes it sound like it's literally inside his head, like he's hosting it. But he's more like Micolash, like Lord of the Nightmare, or Micolash, Master of the Nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're approaching like 2.5 hours, and I have to go do chores and eat.
I also have to eat.
Yeah.
It is 3:58 a.m. here.
So, Richie, do the outro.
That was episode 17, 18, 19, 20.
Keep going.
Of the Snack Covenant. 21. Of the Snack Covenant. We discussed Micolash and also various Menses-related things with Bean.
Yay!
If you enjoyed listening to Bean, you can watch her on Twitch and listen to a podcast she does if this is finished after she does the podcast. She is also part of Sinclair's Discord server. You can join it and talk to her there as well, along with other people.
She's like the best part of the server.
Oh no, you're too cute. Oh.
Unlike Richard.
Oh no, Richard's a good part too.
Richard ruins everything.
You know, like Goldtooth just tweeted that I ruined her fight against Gale.
Aww.
So she knows what I'm talking about.
It's like it takes like 24 hours with me for people to just start blaming me for everything that's going wrong. I also ruined Sinclair and Allison's stream by not being there.
No, you ruined it by showing up. Oh yeah, I ruined
it by appearing. Yeah, it was good until I arrived, and then you made mistakes.
I don't know. I had a really good the one really good stream I had was when Richard was there.
Oh my god, Bean, don't encourage him. And you'll be able to find Bean and all her social media in the description. And well, I forget, did you change your Twitter name recently?
No, my Twitter handle is still Fallerate, but my name shows up as local cage-headed friend.
Awesome.
You have like a DeviantArt account for your stuff as well.
I have an Instagram. My Instagram is a lifestyle. It's like lifestyle Instagram, so it's mostly like my art and then also my just random photos because I don't separate anything out because I'm a professional. So my Instagram is the same as it's Teeny Tiny Coffee Bean.
Awesome. I think that's it. Yay! Well, thank you so much for coming, Bean.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
It was super fun.
It was super fun.